Hello and welcome, connoisseurs of fine common cardboard, to today's live stream and to this episode of Let's Build for cPDH, where we explore commanders from competitive Pauper Commander and try to make them great. Today we are focusing on Ariel, Knight of Windgrace. This is an Orzhov commander that got downshifted recently alongside a number of other powerful creatures. And today we're going to figure out how to midrange. We're going to talk a little bit about Orzhov meta busting and how it is that you can attack the meta from a lot of different angles that are pertinent to what's happening in the format right now. And this promising commander looks like it does a lot. There's a lot of text on this card. So just getting ready here, and we're going to send it. So let's hop in to here and let's make our deck. I hope everyone is doing great out there. Hope you're having a good Monday. Hope you've shaken off the case of the Mondays. For those of you based enough to have enjoyed the Office Space movie. Fabulous movie. Nope, let's see. Windgrace, here we go. And there we go. And you can see I have a organizational process here. We're going to put that in progress. And let's create this list. I'm going to drop the list in chat for you so you can check this out yourself as we are live. And yeah, like I said before, hope you all are having a great day out there. And we're gonna get right into it. So, Knight of Windgrace. This is an Orzhov commander. It's a 4/4 for 4. So right off the bat, we're on rate. It's an Orzhov. It is a legendary human knight. We have some relevant creature type there. The knight part of it is important to the game plan, but the human part of it is more important to the game plan, meaning we are going to benefit from perhaps some Path of Ancestry type stuff. We can get some additional value off of other humans, other knights. Ariel is vigilant, which is pretty relevant because both of her activated abilities are tap abilities, meaning that we can actually apply pressure with this commander while actually creating tokens or killing things. So her first activated ability is 3 mana. Tap it, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. Vigilance being quite nice here. Second ability here is 1 black. Tap it, destroy, or tap X untapped knights you control to destroy a creature with power X or less. So I think that one of the first things I want to get out of the way here is I want to talk a little bit about some of my discussions that I've had with the supporters and the patron supporters in Discord who voted today to have Ariel, Knight of Windgrace, as the commander that we were going to focus on for Let's Build. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me about Ariel, asking about how exactly should I build this commander? And my response has been largely the same. And that is that building around knights is a trap. And I know that for many of you that that may kill a little bit of the vibe, but I want to talk a little bit about exactly how I envision Ariel functioning. In cPDH, when we have commanders that have removal attached to them, they can be incredibly threatening. And that is because it is a creature-based format. Every combo requires creatures, and combat damage and pinging, they all require creatures. Everything that we're doing to kill our opponents or further our game plan is almost always going to involve a creature somewhere in the chain. We've got Frank, by the way, joining, saying, first time joining, loved some PDH. Well, Frank, thank you for joining us. Glad to have you here. Thanks for coming and joining the live stream. I'm really stoked to have you here. So with creatures being such a creature-heavy format, much like Pauper, it's a very creature-heavy format, although Pauper has the secondary part of it of being an artifact format currently because of the bridges and some of the artifact synergies. A card like Ariel, if we maximize her too much, meaning that we lean heavily into knights, there are two problems that we're going to encounter. The first of which is that most knights at common suck. Okay. There are a couple of good knights that we can play that are just good cards. Okay. But many of them, they're just very, very lackluster. And playing them is going to erode the quality of our deck overall for the ability to lean into killing bigger things with Ariel. So the question is, what is this ability used for? And particularly the destruction effect, because that's the only one that is really conditional. And when I saw this and I started to look at the knights we had available, and I started to think about commanders like Mayhem Devil and other ones that kill things repeatedly over and over again, Armix is another good example, and the sort of hate they draw. If we actually want to do anything with Ariel, in all likelihood, we need to limit what Ariel can actually kill in most cases. Ariel can produce her own knights, okay? You can't use Ariel as one of the knights because it has to be tapping Ariel, and it says untapped knights. So when we tap Ariel, if we have no other knights in play, we can only destroy creatures with power 0 or greater. If we have one knight in play in addition to Ariel and it's untapped, we can destroy power 1 or less. If we have 2 or less. So it can be kind of clunky. If we really want this ability to be reliable for killing anything, then we do have to start leaning into some very bad cards, some knights that are not really that great. And I want to maximize the amount of good cards in this deck because I think Orzhov is a meta-busting color that demands of you playing good cards. You want to maximize the quality of your top deck in a mid-range deck, and I think this deck can do that. So I actually think that this creature is not going to die that often, and here's why. If we limit the number of knights in the deck to only the ones that are generically good and the ones that Ariel produces, Ariel will regularly be a stacks piece, meaning an interruptive piece for combo, okay? She'll just be on board, ready to gun down scouts, and scouts are creatures that put lands into play. So like in a Tatyova combo, they need a scout, they need Tidal Bore, and then Tatyova to combo off. We only need one knight in play to kill any of those scouts, power 1 or less, right? They're all very low power. Then we also have untappers. We have creatures like Rime Tender. We have creatures like Voyaging Satyr, Arbor Elf. These creatures tend to be 1 power. Some of them are 2, but they tend to be low power, which means that we only need to have 1 to 2 knights in play to actually be able to destroy those at any time. And the only way to protect them is going to be with a hexproof or a shroud effect, which really limits the number of vectors there are for interrupting our removal on their creatures. So if we take Ariel and we lean into knights and we try to have all these knights so that we can kill Dargos and we can kill all these other big things, then that's going to be very threatening to other players and they're going to kill Ariel all the time. And I think we'll get less value from Ariel. What's better is that we have only incidental knights. We have cards like Goliath Paladin, maybe Westfold Rider, cards that have functions that aren't just because it's a knight, that are going to do other things. Maybe like Changeling Outcast is another really good example of a knight, right? That is also going to do other things like being unblockable for the initiative and the monarch and for maintaining board presence or maintaining pressure on our opponents or pairing with a cranial plating. Or with all that glitters, right? Something like that, turning a small unblockable creature into a big threat. So I think where Ariel is going to be really effective as this like incredibly good sort of repeat value engine that has like kind of an army stapled onto it that slowly builds for a commander that can attack while doing all of these things. That is so huge. The vigilance is a big deal. We can just attack in. We don't have to decide, are we going to make tokens or are we going to attack? We get to do both. These tokens have vigilance, which means they're going to protect the monarch and the initiative really well, which are important parts of the mid-range strategy. And then we have this repeat removal engine that can be used as a stacks effect for combo. And I think that is a really good place to be. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention about Ariel as well is that Ariel is a black creature with 4 toughness. And this meets a lot of the characteristics for a commander that even if it was a threat, even if it does become a problem at the table, might be kind of hard to kill. Your bolt effects don't kill it. Your sweepers don't kill it. And then the whole list of doesn't kill black things doesn't kill this. Doesn't get killed by Snuff Out, Executioner's Capsule, Spinning Darkness, Doomblade. There's really like a whole list of them that this does not hit. And I think that's going to be really good. It also probably won't die to edicts because it floods the board over time with stuff. And I think that that makes this a very appealing commander. It's also legendary, which means it does not die to cast down. A lot of really cool things going on here. So I think we're looking at just a very generic, fair Orzhov Midrange deck that's going to grind our opponents down with a lot of creatures with a repeat removal engine. And, maybe even in some cases, some commander damage. I don't think that's super likely, but the fact that she can attack while being on defense is just very strong. So there's Ariel. I think that's kind of what I see here. So let's first address like the elephant in the room about the knights, okay? So let's look at type knight, okay? And that's really all we need to do, right? Type knight, maybe we do type knight or type, would it be shapeshifter, right? I think that's right, or is it changeling? Can't remember. Yeah, okay, that works. So we have 113 results. So let's start taking a look at all of these options that we have here. Okay, and let's figure out which ones are actually premium, because a lot of them aren't. We have Ardenvale Paladin. If you pay 3 mana, then you get a 3/6 for 4, 3 white, and a 2-color deck. Bit of a ask. We have Ardenvale Tactician. Taps 2 creatures and then becomes a 2/3 with flying. While this is card advantage because there's 2 cards on it, the effect is not particularly premium to me. And the fact that it's evasive is nice. This could be a card we would play. It's generally you see Ardenvale Tactician in very like combat focused decks, perhaps in a deck that cares about commander damage where it can like tap down 2 blockers and then hit with the Voltron commander, or in white decks that don't have card advantage in them. This is a form of card advantage. So let's add that to the sideboard. We have the Argivian Cavalier. This enlist ability is not exciting, especially because we're tapping down our creatures to do this. Tendon Knight, kind of the same card. It's a 2/2 first strike, makes a 1/1, 2/2 flying for 3. You're getting kind of a sense of like how bad some of these cards are. Benelish Guard becomes a 3/2 for 2 with our commander in play. We have 2 mana, 2/2 with flanking. Flanking is kind of, for those of you who've played Slivers and Pauper, flanking kind of translates to +1/+1 in a way. So this, this can tango with a 3/3, but it's not phenomenal. 3 mana, 2/2 flanking, first strike. Flanking and first strike is powerful together. Or no, sorry, flash and first strike. Flash is cool, but again, these are cute. These are not very good. This one right here, Ward 1 +1/+1, becomes a 3 mana, 4 mana, 3/1. I don't know, not that amazing, but we could check it out. Breathless Knight is a card that a lot of people have worked with in the past, but we'll just have to see. There's ways that we can make this work with Breathless Knight because Orzhov is the color of reanimation. The color pair of reanimation. And that has become increasingly clear to me with the last couple of sets. So we could take a look at this because Breathless Knight here says when this one or another creature enters the battlefield, if it came from a graveyard, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. It's flying and lifelink, which makes it pretty nice with a cranial plating or an All That Glitters, which are going to be parts of this deck because we're going to have a Heliod's Pilgrim package, we're going to have Ramp, right? All those things are going to work towards just passively making both of those cards good. So this one could work, passively growing. I mean, the main thing is that it's lifelinking and it's flying. But yeah, that's kind of an interesting thing. Calvin Beal, welcome, says Unearth and Recommission are sweet. They absolutely are. And for me, I've been thinking about and building around Orzhov meta busting quite a lot lately. And really, you've got this like core of, there's like a lot of things going on in Orzhov. Okay, first of all, you have Suture Priest and you have Bloodseeker, which are both phenomenal stacks pieces to punish flicker effects and go wide decks. Then you have Heliod's Pilgrim, okay, which is an aura tutor. You have all the extort creatures, okay. All the extort creatures are under 4 mana, except for one, and the one that isn't is so bad, it's a Syndicate Enforcer, and it's basically mostly unplayable in my mind. Like even control decks don't really want it because it's 2 toughness, meaning it dies to all of our own sweepers. So it's just All of them are under 3. All those cards I listed are under 3, and Recommission, Return Triumphant, Unearth are all really good. You also get Troll of Khazad-dûm and Alabaster Host Intercessor and Gloomfang Mauler and a lot of these cycling creatures that are not only tutoring for our dual lands, they're also tutoring for Witch's Cottage. Alabaster Host Intercessor doesn't. It's just going to tutor up a plains or a dual land. But they can also be reanimated. And in some cases, that can be a very fast game plan. You go turn 1, cycle Troll of Khazad-dûm, turn 2, Arcane Signet, turn 3, land into what are the 4? We have Late to Dinner, we have Breath of Life, False Defeat, and then Resurrection. And then we also have 4 mana for Dread Return. So there's reanimation stuff going on here, and I think Breathless Night is actually going to fit into this picture. I actually do like this card. The flying and the lifelink paired with the cranial plating and all the glitters, I think is going to be very good. Calvin says it's a shame the initiative creatures are all 4+ mana. That is true, but that's why we're also going to play Dread Return, and we're probably going to play Breath of Life at the very minimum so that we can get those back when they die. Frank says you also can use Dread Return in this deck if you have a lot of creatures. Exactly. So that's another place where Ariel is creating these disposable creatures that can attack, and then they can be sacrificed for something like Dread Return. If we have a Gary in the graveyard, maybe we have an initiative creature in the graveyard, we can attack, regain the initiative, and then sack those things to bring the initiative back into play with Dread Return. So there's a lot to like about what's going on in this deck. I'm quite bullish on this commander. I'll be quite honest. It didn't get a lot of attention. People say it's too slow, but look, this is mid-range, right? Mid-range doesn't have to be super fast, and I think we actually have the tools to turn up the clock with fast reanimation, fast deploying initiative with our mana rocks. We could play a turn 3 Vicious Battle Rager. Even cards like Guardian of the Guild Pact, playing it, putting a cranial plating on it, it's basically unblockable. We can start killing people or eating their commander every turn if they're a dual colored deck. Frank says you can also make Gary into a knight if you play Dub. Now that's a possibility. We could do that. We could have Dub as part of our Heliod's Pilgrim package. That's a possibility. Yeah. Okay, so we've got Breathless Night, we've got Cabal Paladin with historic spells, and that's actually kind of interesting because we are going to be playing auras with the Heliod's Pilgrim, and we are going to be playing all the Impetus cards, and we're also going to be playing lots of mana rocks. So we actually could play this. It's also 4 mana, which means Dimir Houseguard will be able to tutor for it. So this is a pretty big ping. You know, it's 2 damage every single time. That's a gutter snipe, right? That might actually be good enough. And it's a knight, and it's 4/2. It does die to sweepers. So we'll see. This one's a maybe. We said NF, I'm excited to see how this turns out. Well, NF, welcome to the chat. I hope you're having a great day. And I am also excited to see how this turns out. I think this has got legs. We definitely got legs here. Auras aren't historic, are they? Oh, yeah. Good point. So just legendaries and just artifacts, really. There might be a saga that I don't know if the sagas are going to be good enough here. Okiba Reckoner Raid is just a good black card, but I don't know if that's really where we want to be. It's not a very good top deck. I mean, it's fine. It's a very generically good black card, but you're right. It does not include auras. We're just talking about legendaries and artifacts. So the legendaries would be Ariel. So every time we cast Ariel, we would get a trigger, but Ariel's not going to die that much. So it's just artifacts. And I suspect that we'll have somewhere in the realm of like 13 to 17 artifacts by the time we're done, with between rocks and just incidental artifacts. But we'll keep this one in the sideboard and kind of watch that as we go. Charity Extractor is kind of interesting. It's just a big knight that's a good blocker that has lifelink. Lifelink is important because with cranial plating and all the glitters, it can get pretty big. But it's pretty bad, right? It's 4 mana, 1/5. What else do we have here? We have a Flying First Strike for 2/3. We have Crib Swap. Crib Swap is probably a card we're just going to play here. Does Ariel check? So it's just looking for the number under our control. So Crib Swap is kind of interesting. We have better removal spells in Orzhov than this 3 mana exile a creature, give them something. But it is pretty unconditional. There are ways to tutor for this if we have rebel cards, perhaps, although those go into the battlefield. Something like Mirror Kinsmith that can tutor for any mirror card. Well, this is a mirror card. There's a variety of ways we could tutor for this, but it may not be worth it. Calvin says it'll be interesting to see how much attention she draws for removal. People might start getting suspicious when they see a knight every turn. Yeah, it could be. But I think that I think you're right. Like if we really focus heavily, as I explained at the beginning, if we focus very heavily on knights, we're going to reduce the number of average, like just good cards in the deck, because a lot of the knights are just so bad, and they're like unplayable. And I think we want to avoid the situation where Ariel becomes this sort of like, I can kill anything on the board really early. We don't want that. We don't want her to come down and say, I can kill your commander over and over and over again, because then it will draw a lot of attention. But I think like if this is something, there's some game theory here where Ariel is keeping the combo players down, then it becomes hard to justify killing us or killing our commander, because we're actually doing like the Lord's work, so to speak here, which is actually, I love that reference, doing the Lord's work in this case, because we are indeed a knight, and one would presume there's a Lord at the top of this. That's kind of flavorful. Daring Skyjack is a pretty good knight, but it wants to be in a deck that goes really wide, because it's really like a 2-mana 3/1 flying, but we're not often enough going to have 3 other creatures attacking to make this work. I love shadow creatures. I think shadow creatures in mid-range decks are very good right now. And the fact that this is just a unblockable knight could make it good enough. Do we have Unmake in the list yet? Not yet. Unmake would probably come in for Crib Swap instead. Vigilance Lifelink 2/4 for 5 is crap. Desperate Farmer, whenever one dies, you flip it into a 4/3 with Lifelink, but it's pretty conditional. We have this knight that gives +1/+1 in vigilance. The vigilance doesn't do anything for us because a lot of our creatures are already vigilant. +1/+1's fine, but ultimately like not that good. It's going to be bad in our opening hand. We have this knight here that is a 6-mana 3/7 that can exile a creature from graveyards to drain people. It's, again, not that great. You're seeing a pattern here. There's a lot of like really bad knights. Fell Horseman, not a bad knight, okay? This is going to be in the main deck. I put this on the thumbnail. I think that this, 2 mana, get a card. It's a 2 mana Raise Dead, get a card from the graveyard. And then it's a 4 mana 3/3 knight. It's not amazing, but the fact that it has 2 cards on it while also being a creature and a knight, I think this makes me more excited about this. More excited about it. We have Gallant Cavalry. Now we're getting into a class of knights that's kind of interesting. There's a whole bunch of these. 4 mana, make 2/2/2 knights where both of them have vigilance. And these cards, we may play some small number of them just to occasionally boost up what we can kill, right? The card quality here is not phenomenal, but it's not awful. Goliath Paladin, we are 100% playing. What else do we have here? When it enters the battlefield, creatures get +1/+1 for 4. That's interesting. Irregular Cohort is just 2/2/2s. We've got ones that make vigilant creatures. We have a flyer, 2/2 flyer for 3, gains a little bit of life. We have a 1/3 double strike, not very good. We do have Knighted Mirror, which has the ability to pump itself up for double strike, but there's really not a whole lot of like counter synergies here, so I don't think that this is going to be very premium, but we will put it under considering. We do have cards like Knight of Old Benalia, which are interesting. Hardcast, it's a little bit less good than the other creatures that do this. Usually they're a little bit bigger, right? Like if you saw this one here was a 5 mana 4/4 that gives all creatures +1/+1 in vigilance, which actually is pretty efficient compared to a lot of the 3/3s that we get. Whereas this is, you have this option to suspend on turn 1, but I don't know, not that great. Knight of Sorrows is interesting. You can block an additional creature, Afterlives, but it's a 5 mana 3/3. This one here is a 4 mana flying flanking 2/2 that suspends on it's actually a relatively reasonable suspend. And the fact that it has evasion and is suspended, and suspend, they get haste. So that's good. It'll, load up on knights that are going to come into play at some point. Flying, flanking, it's kind of interesting. We'll throw this in considering. Knight of the New Coalition. This is another one of those 4 mana, make 2/2/2s with vigilance. Ladev Guardian being a convoke creature, but it's really just a 2/4. Not that amazing. Now, Leonin Sky Hunter, a 2/2 for 2 with flying, that catches my interest a little bit more. It's kind of mopey. You know, we could just play a lot of other things other than this, but we'll keep an eye on it. 4 mana, 3/2 menace. If 3 black was spent on it, it's a 4/3 menace. It's just not very good. Lost Legion is a pretty playable card. This card, I think, is pretty comparable to Phyrexian Rager. It has an extra toughness. It has 2 black pips for Gary, and it scries 2. In this case, it's a knight, so we can throw this in considering. This one gives vigilance, not that amazing. This requires that we pay mana to give it death touch, just not that great. This one has trample, but we don't have any way to buff it up. Nameless Inversion is interesting. Don't think there's anything this synergizes with other than the ability to tutor for it with anything that references creature types. So I think we'll throw this one in considering, but I don't think it's relevant. We have these ones, these pro black, pro white, 2/2s for 2. They can be given first strike, which is kind of interesting, but again, they're quite small. Night Sky Mimic here is interesting. It's a shapeshifter. Now, the fact that it's a shapeshifter, this actually has not been modified. It's a shapeshifter, but it's not a changeling, so it is not a knight. Smitten Swordmaster, yeah, so, and I forgot to mention that. Smitten Swordmaster is what a lot of people think of when they think of Ariel. We may play Smitten Swordmaster, but I'm going to be completely honest. That card, it depends on, we got to think about how good is that card going to be, right? Is it a drain 3 for some mana? Is it a drain 4? Is it a drain 2? Is it anywhere near Gary? Is it efficient? It does have lifelink, I believe. It's a card that we could definitely play, but I just want to be cautious that we're not playing a card simply because it says knights. You know what I mean? It's very easy with this deck to get trapped in thinking it's a knight deck, and I don't think it is. I think it's a knight deck only insofar as that we kill little creatures that have very little power that are combo creatures and important. Like killing important combo creatures is much more feasible and much less likely to draw a lot of hate. These are interesting. I think that the double black on them makes them, double white, double black, makes them hard to cast. And we're not a deck that's looking to like curve out super hard, I would say. Relief Captain is interesting. This card being a lot of power on the battlefield, right? It's 4 mana, it's a 3/2, it's coming in, and it's putting another 3 power into play. So it's like 4 mana for 6 power and 5 toughness, which I think is actually good, and it's a knight. So if we're making a bunch of bodies and we take those vigilant creatures and we make them bigger, that's actually quite good. I think this is probably going to go in our main deck. Plover Knight, nope. Parhelion Patrol. Mentor. Mentor is interesting because it only works with creatures with lesser power. Lesser, which means all of our 2/2s cannot be buffed up by Parhelion Patrol. And you have to make Parhelion Patrol big for it to mentor creatures. This is a bad card, okay? Like 4 mana for a 2/3 flying vigilance that makes things that don't exist in our deck bigger isn't going to work. Savior of the Sleeping is enchantments. Shadow Rider, nope, terrible. Shields of Elis Vel. This could be used as tech to protect ourselves from a fiery cannonade because it gives them all creature types or a breath weapon, or really any 2 damage sweeper. And it's only 1 mana, and it's tutorable with like a Mere Kinsmith. So we could play this, but it's also kind of bad, right? Like it's very conditional. I wish Gwillian Hedgemage was common. Gwillian Hedgemage. Would you post that in the just like what it does? I'm kind of curious about that. Sigiled Sentinel is a good knight when the counters matter, but in this particular deck, it's just not that great, and we already have vigilance on our creatures. Now, Skulking Knight is actually pretty decent. It's actually above the curve. It's a 3/3 for 3 that when it fights in combat, it can fight with 4/4s. But anytime somebody targets it, it's going to die. That doesn't really matter because I mean, you could use certain abilities where it says target creature and then you just kill it. But generally speaking, it's like if they're targeting it with removal, it's going to die anyways. So not super high on that. 1/1 double strike flying, Slumbering Keep Guard, very good knight, but not for this deck. Smitten Swordmaster does have lifelink. This will play because of the lifelink. Because cranial plating and all that glitters will be a good target, and we're going to have a way to drain with knights. We might even have ways to reuse it. It's only 1 mana for Curry Favor. So Soltari Lancer being unblockable. The first strike probably doesn't matter, but the unblockable very much does matter. This is playable even though it's a 2/2 for 3. Calvin says 2 hybrid Orzhov for a 2/2 Hag Wizard. When it ETBs, you get a 1/1 Kithkin Soldier if you control 2 planes, and put a -1/-1 counter on a creature if you control 2 swamps. 2 plus hybrid Orzhov for a 3/3. Yeah, that's interesting. That is interesting. When this attacks, you clash, it gains double strike. Okay, Stockpiling Celebrant this is actually a good knight. ETB, it's a Core Skyfisher. It's going to allow us, you may return a creature from play into our hand, into play, and we can scry 2. This could be used to reuse the initiative. It could be used to reuse an Edict creature. And it's just a 3/2 for 2 that's a knight at the very baseline. But this is like a very good Core Skyfisher. I kind of like this card. Being able to reuse the Monarch, the initiative, things like that is all very appealing. 2/2 for 2 with Vigilance. We crank these out like on our own. We don't need that. Westfold Rider is a knight. It is a, has the ability to destroy an artifact or enchantment. The fact that it is a free sacrifice is good. The fact that it's a sorcery speed activation sucks, but it's still fine. And we can unearth this. We can recommission this. I think this is actually playable. And the cool thing about Westfold Rider and cards like this is that people will not kill these in combat because they know that they're important for other things. So if you've got if you're player A and player B is a combo player and player C is not, you can attack player C and they won't often block cards like this or Cathar Commando because they know that they need it in play for the combo player. So you can kind of bully people a little bit with these cards to get damage in with them and then have them up as a chip against the combo players. That's an option we have. Wingsteed Rider needs things to target it, and we're not going to play those cards. First strike, flanking. Okay. So you can see we're kind of like at the end of like the good cards in these colors. So I don't even think, these are all sideboard here. So let's go through and look at some other cards we're going to add. I am almost positive that we're going to be a cranial plating deck. And the cranial plating with these vigilance creatures is going to be amazing. Going to be very hard to attack through us. All that glitters, I think, is going to be less good because it'll be bigger, but it's also like you put it on something, and if it dies, it's gone. We will have ways to get it back. We could play something like Lotus Eye Mystics, or we could play an Auramancer or Ironclad Slayer or Custody Squire to get it back. Alternatively, we could also, because I want this to be a thing we can find off Heliod's Pilgrim. So let's put in Heliod's Pilgrim. And I'm just going to start throwing in cards that are like generically good Orzhov stuff that we're going to want. So initiative, we're going to want that. So let's copy that. We're going to have Goliath Paladin. We're going to have Underdark Explorer. We're going to have Battle Rager. Trailblazer's Torch might also be just fine. I think that Trailblazer's Torch, sometimes people look at it and they're like, is this good enough? And it's like, for 4 mana initiative, actually, I think that's just good enough. This could be like 4 mana, take the initiative, no text, and a lot of times it would still be playable. The fact that it doesn't come on a body is a downside because the other ones come with a body that, that we can block and attack with. This one does give us a form of like first strike, right? Like they block and we hit them for 2. If they're small, then they just die in the blocking, almost like flanking to a degree, a little bit. And then if not, then we're going to trade with something that's too bigger. So we can trade up with this effect. This one might not make the cut, but we'll see. I think for Monarch, it's going to be really hard to imagine this deck not having Monarch because we have a swarm of vigilant creatures. We're going to be an amazing Monarch deck. And the more creature heavy we can become, the less like just draw spells we have to play, and the more like Monarch effects we can play. So the more Monarch, the more creatures that we have, the less we have to play just pure draw spells. We can play like creatures with draw attached to them. Palace Sentinel is not my favorite card, but I think in this deck it is going to be good. Staunch Throne Guard is just a very good one. Black Rose is going to be very good too. Calvin says, thoughts on Hopeful Vigil. Hopeful Vigil makes a knight. That's right. And it scries too, and it's vigilant. Yeah, good. Let's look at Oracle Text Knight and see what comes up. It's going to name the cards in some cases. Oh, this is interesting. 5 mana, return a knight card from your graveyard to your hand. How fascinating is that? Call the Cavalry is essentially the same thing as the other ones. So we can add that to the sideboard. Dub, we were talking about that before, turning something into a knight. Could be good. The First Strike can be good. First Strike, I do want to mention one of the things about First Strike. First Strike is very, 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 very strong against gut players. Gut players, when they attack, you line up 2 blockers, one of them's First Strike, and it will just Snakebite kill the thing. And as long as you have one creature with First Strike, you're just going to eat their creatures over and over again. So First Strike is not useless. It's a very good thing for like the current meta, I would say, if you're worried about gut-related stuff. This one gives flying to our knights over and over again, which is kind of interesting. You know, for Ariel, that could actually be quite good, having an attacking flyer every turn. Hopeful Vigil, there we go. So it's a 2/2 for 2 with Vigilance, which we've established isn't incredible, but we can actually pick this up with Core Skyfisher and with the Stockpiling Celebrant over and over again, and we can sack it to scry too. So I think this is actually good. We're going to put this one in considering. Now let's do it sideboard. Knightly Valor is another aura that will find us a 2/2 with Vigilance, although this is giving +2/+2 in Vigilance. The Vigilance might be good on like a Vicious Battle Rager. The interesting thing is that Dub turns the thing into a knight, but this just creates a knight. So this is nice because it'll be part of the aura package with a Heliod's Pilgrim, where it is just another body. Vigilance is very strong. We could do this. It's expensive. It's 5 mana for 4 power and some Vigilance. It's not amazing. This is the same thing as the Call the Cavalry, but bad because it's 5 mana. Lonesome Unicorn is 3 mana to make a knight with Vigilance, and then you make a 5 mana 3/3 with Vigilance for the Unicorn, for Lonesome Unicorn. That is 8 mana for 5 power. It's not very good, right? It's pretty bad. Pretty bad. I'd take a look at Recruitment Drive right here. On the low side, makes 2 1/1s. On the high side, makes 3 2/2s. So I think what we do with this card is that we evaluate it as never hitting a natty 20. Because for one thing, most cards you don't ever draw in a game. Most cards you never see in a game. You might see in the average game like a third of your deck if you're lucky. So most cards you're just not going to see. And then when we see it, only 1 in 20 times are we actually going to make 3 2/2s. So are we happy with 2 1/1s for 3? Not totally. Am I happy with 3 mana make 2 2/2s? Yes, but they aren't vigilant. So I think what we need to do is put this under considering. It's a little low on the totem pole, and it's leaning heavy into the knight thing. Look, and the other problem is that if we roll 1 through 9, it makes soldiers, not not knights. Ooh, Fanatical Devotion is a good card in this deck. Yeah, I like that a lot. That's super cool. That's nice in general for just protecting like anything that we have, right? Yeah, I think that's good. Shining Armor attaches to knights. It's got flash. This is a terrible card. If you control 2 or more gates, you put a I mean, gates would be interesting actually, because a basilisk gate in 2 colors, buffing up our creatures every turn could actually be good. But I think this is just way too conditional. You have to have 2 gates in play. I think the most we can get in 2 colors is 7 gates, which is not great. The advantage of the creatures that make the token is that they can be raised dead or reanimated. That is true. Yep, absolutely. As a way to just get a bunch of bodies back. Yeah, although I think our reanimation targets are going to be better for that, and whereas the sorceries can't. Yep, it's a good point. Here's another one. 5 mana, 3/3 Vigilance makes a 2/2 with Vigilance. I don't hate it. War Falcon is a card I love. I love this card, but damn, is it hard to turn on. It's like these cards that are like really cheap evasive creatures are very, very, very high in my estimation. Evasion is so strong. Flying, Shadow, even Menace, unblockability, they're very high in my estimation. I really, really value them so much that we're going to play some in this deck that are not knights. They're just good. Because the evasion paired with all the glitters, or particularly with cranial plating, is cracked. It's so strong. You just like your opponent having to kill these like 2/2 unblockables that are like not high priority on their list feels bad. Feels really bad. And I like inflicting cognitive dissonance on my opponents. It will make them play bad in some number of cases. And in the other cases, well, then they did or didn't kill the creature that ultimately wasn't that important to us in the first place. A 2 mana 2/2 unblockable. War Falcon, just because we're going to put it in considering. So, okay, so we've got the knights here. Okay. And these, it does just make knights, so that's it. Creatures. Let's search up creature and then type. I want to see if there's any text that says creatures of the chosen type. Austin, welcome. An Orzhov deck that isn't aristocrats. I love it already. Yeah, we're not going to be doing a whole lot of aristocrats here, although the fact that Ariel makes creatures that are essentially disposable, I think may actually make some of the really efficient draw spells, the Deadly Dispute, Village Rites, Corrupted Conviction, might make them playable. We have to be careful, though, because when we just want to draw cards and we don't have anything we want to sacrifice, those cards kind of suck. Answered Prayers is a good card. I really like this. It doesn't die to sorcery speed removal. It gains us a lot of life, and it becomes an invasive flyer that is on curve. This card being like a 3/3 flyer, like think about this. This is a 3/3 flyer that also has like half of the Soul Sisters tech on it. It only gains less life for our creatures, but it also flies. I love it. I don't know if it's like good enough for here, but I think we're going to add it to the sideboard. This card does turn us into every creature type, and it's +3/+0. This card is mostly unplayable, but +3/+0 on a shadow creature is like cranial plating, like generic cranial plating level good. Because cranial plating in a deck that doesn't like hyper optimize for it is usually going to be around +2, +3, or +4, around that area, right? Like one other artifact, it's +2 itself, and the other one, 2. Then we're looking at a little bit more, but it's also like 5 mana to equip. It's pretty bad, but we'll throw it in the sideboard for shits and giggles. This one says return up to 3 creature cards of the same chosen card choice of type from your graveyard to your hand. That's interesting. In fact, we'll just throw that in the sideboard here. Basic lands. This one turns into artifacts. Call to Serve turns them into angels. Coordinated Barrage only deals it to attacking or blocking creatures, and this requires that we do lean heavy into knights. I don't like that. Also protects your creatures from Breath Weapon, Fiery Cannonade. Maybe not worth it, just still pointing it out. Which one does? Also protects against the Breath Weapon. This one here? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Crown of Awe. This card's kind of cool. This actually is kind of gross, because red and black are the sweeper colors, and we just say knights. Although, so I don't know. Again, this might be too cute, right? Like too cute for the knight stuff, right? We don't want to lean into just knights. I really don't think that's wise. Um, Pack Disdain is a good card. This does require knights. I really like this card. This is an underplayed card. It's one that a lot of people forget about when they're playing black splash typal stuff. So like a black green like elf deck, like your sort of Abomination of Llanowar type stuff. This is a really good removal spell. Or in the 5-color elf deck that I have, the Sphinx of the Guild Pact. Rainbow Elves. This is a great card there. So this would be just knights. It's like 2 mana Vindicate. We're definitely going to play Path of Ancestry. Raise the Draugr, actually, and Return from Extinction are both very interesting. They can get 2 knights back at the same time, but if it's not 2 knights, then it's only going to be 2 mana, get back 1 thing. And I don't know if that's good enough. We are going to throw them in considering, because again, we're not about knights purely. Interesting. Weight of Conscience can put it on something that that can't attack, so it can block, and you can tap 2 creatures that share a creature type and exile that creature. Yeah, Austin says it's a second copy of Defile. It's good. Yeah, I would say that that's not wrong. We're gonna put this one in here just to keep a watch on it. These auras, I don't know. This one, it's 2 mana, sorcery speed, exile a creature. And it's tutorable. Okay. We got the Monarch. We got the Initiative. What are some other cards? Oh, right. Extort. Extort is really, really busted. I think Extort is among the best keywords in the entire format right now. We're not going to play Syndicate Enforcer. Sorry, bud. You're just too bad. Extort is aggressive, it's defensive. All of them come back with Unearth and Recommission and Return Triumphant. It's unblockable damage. It's a great mana sink when we don't have anything else to do. It's just very strong. This is going to be hashtag life, gain, and drain. Like that. So we're going to start organizing these ones into there. Basilica Guards, Breathless Night is also that. Tithe Drinker, Syndicate of Tithes, and Kingpin's Pet, and that is it. Okay, and then we'll do Draw here. And really, Initiative, Monarch, these are all draw effects, so we're going to put them into here. Palace Sentinels, this is going to be under Recursion and Reanimation. I put those things together because it gets a little tedious if you don't. This is going to be under Tutors and hashtag Draw as well. Does both. These are going to be under Modifications. And let's see, Gain and Drain as well for the Smitten Sword Master. This is also going to be under Disenchant. Frank says Marauding Blight Priest. Yeah, so Marauding Blight Priest can amplify those, but it requires an A+B, and I don't like that super much because it has to be Extort creature plus Marauding Blight Priest. And Marauding Blight Priest also suffers from being a creature that can't really attack or block. It can, but you don't want to. I've played a lot of Marauding Blight Priest in my Witherbloom stuff, and I've always found it to be lackluster. I would almost prefer to play Epicure of Blood, which is a 4/4 for 5, than I would for Marauding Blight Priest. But it is an interesting idea. Austin says, I don't think there's any argument for any other keywords being as good as Extort. It's a 6-point life swing ever trigger. Yeah, absolutely. Or is it 6 point? It's 3, 1 from every player. Oh yeah, no, it is. Yeah, yeah, it's insane. Yeah, Extort is good. And look, like Extort goes beyond that. Extort is infinite mana payout. Okay, So if you play like an Esper combo deck and you have an extort creature in play and you Peregrine Drake Ghostly Flicker, you sink your extra mana into the extort and you just win the game, right? Works in combo, it keeps you alive, it applies pressure. I play these in aggressive decks because eventually you get to top decking, and every spell you top deck, you can cast, and you have a little bit of extra mana because you only have one spell to cast. So it's good there, it's good in mid-range, it's good in control. Extort is phenomenal, and building around Extort is very smart. That's why we're going to have all the reanimation. And maybe because it's so good, maybe, you know, Epicure and Marauding Blightpriest are worth it for that reason, but I'm more interested in the life gain in Extort than I am the life loss. They're both very good, but like that's the most important thing to me when I'm playing mid-range. Okay, so let's keep going here. We got Cranial Plating. We have this right here, which is really a draw spell. Okay, now we're going to do Reanimation. So let's see if they have a tag for this. I hope they do. No, they don't. Huh. What if we tried Function? No, they don't. Okay, well, we know what the cards are. It's not hard. Return, Triumphant, Recommission. Is it only 1M? Recommission, interesting. We have Unearth. Now, I'm even more bullish on this because Unearth is just a draw spell. Like, this is one of the things, I've been doing a lot of experimentation with Orzhov meta busting, and it's so, everything works together. It's really, really cool. So, like, Unearth is so playable in these decks because it has cycling for 2. When this card is unplayable because there's no creature in the graveyard, it is a 1-mana draw 2. And I think that's phenomenal. Whereas, like, Return Triumphant and Recommission less so. But even Recommission, you know what this does? It gets our Cranial Plating back. If somebody dares disenchants our Cranial Plating, we can get it back with Recommission. How disgusting is that? I love these. Love this. Orzhov right now for me is all I want to do. Orzhov and Mono Black. And yeah, I mean, there's other things that are cool too, but man, Orzhov is absolutely sick right now. Such a sick... like all the glitters, you know, these new reanimation spells, the density of initiative and monarch, the quality of them, the presence of all the extort creatures, the best removal in the format, really, outside of red, I guess, and the best sweepers, the best recursion, best card advantage, and well, not the best card advantage. Black card advantage is good. Blue card advantage is better. So. Austin says, I would only put Blightpriest and Epicure in decks with life gain in the CZ, like Witherbloom and Dina. Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. And we don't have that in our command zone. Okay, now time for Dread Return. And we're going to do Late to Dinner. Late to Dinner also makes artifacts for all the glitters and for Cranial Plating. We have False Defeat. Now, we might not play all of these, but let's just put them in for the moment. Because the problem with these cards is that if there is nothing in your graveyard that you really like, it feels bad, you know? Don't forget Delver's Torch and Wan Ti for potential addition. So I like those cards. The problem with them being that it's an A plus B problem. And not only that, but it's actually like, I would never want to get stuck in any other dungeon other than the initiative. So if we get Wan Ti Fangblade on turn 3 and on turn 4 we have no initiative card, then we can't even attack. I wouldn't want to. Like, what if we then, like, you know, because the other dungeons are pretty bad. They're not very good. So I don't know that we'll be doing that. Wan Ti Fangblade does have Death Touch, so if you're using, you know, if your command zone has Death Touch, then you can do, you know, longbow type stuff, pinging, and then having additional Death Touchers is nice. So really the best reanimation spells we have are Dread Return and Late to Dinner. And then these ones. The other one that I really like is Wander in Death. This card is like, just like the other ones, this is going in like every black deck I play right now. And the reason is the same as Unearth. It's just like 3 mana, get 2 cards that we like from the graveyard. If they're good enough to counter or kill or edict away, then mainly counter and kill. If they're good enough to counter or kill, they're good enough to get back into recast. And when we have this in our opening hand, cycle that bastard away and get a new card. I really like building in these forms of graveyard recursion or just effects in general that are generically good. They're conditionally good, but then the cycling makes them just a draw spell. And they allow us to like fill our curve with this draw spell. We like do something else and then draw a card. I like that a lot. So these ones, actually, let's put these over in the sideboard for now. I think that would be a little too hefty to put any more than this in there. Okay. We want shadow creatures, and we want them all. Augurial Vec is actually a pretty damn good creature. I've been rethinking this card a lot lately. It is a shadow creature that doesn't die to sweepers. It has a life gain effect on it that like is kind of a lot of life. If we're in a pinch and we just want to get 4 life, we can do it, and it's cheap. It's splashable. It only costs 1 black pip. It's a human, so Path of Ancestry, and it's going to carry a cranial plating like a boss. NF says, where do you think Ariel will rank among other Orzhov commanders in the current environment? I think I actually think that Orzhov colors are just good enough that your commander would have to be very, very bad for your deck to be bad. like if you took what I'm building right now and maybe you took the night stuff out of it and then you slammed it into like almost any other Orzhov commander, I think your deck is going to be decent. I think Orzhov is just really well positioned right now. It has all of like the great stacks effects. It has all of the recursion. It has all of the reanimation. It has all the pinging. It has all the life gain. It has a lot of it has most of the unblockable stuff in white and black, except for blue, right? It has cranial plating and all the glitters, and it has ways to tutor for them. It has some of the best removal. It has amazing sweepers. It has fogs. Like, what does this color pair not do? Oh, it doesn't counter things? Well, gosh, it'd be a shame if removal was as good as a counterspell in a deck like this. Kelp, welcome. Good to see you, buddy. Kelp is one of our newest patrons of the channel, and a very generous one at that. So thank you very much, Kelp, for all that. Dothy Horror is great here. Dothy Jackal is kind of interesting. I've been thinking about this card a little bit lately. Target blocking creature. It's kind of bad, though. Dothy Marauder is a 3-power shadow creature. This card hits for 10% of somebody's life total every turn, unblockably, and I don't know that I care if it's tiny. I don't know if I care. For 3 mana, if they bolt this, sure. Like, live your best life. I don't think I care. Dothy Slayer, love this card. By the way, where is it? I just bought some Dothy Slayers, and I want to flex. I want to flex a little. Where is it? Oh yeah, yep. Okay, so Las Vegas. I sold my modern deck, my last remaining cards that aren't commons or uncommon creatures for the command zone. I sold them finally. I was hanging on to them for years. I had my Legacy and my Modern Burn deck, sold them all, got like $250 in store credit, and I went and loaded up on Pauper Commander staples. Okay. I also pulled from my creator pack that I got from when I went to Vegas. I pulled a lot of really expensive cards. I pulled a borderless foil Agatha's Cauldron, and it was like, got like another $150 in store credit. But got to flex a little bit on this one. Look at what I got. I got 2 copies of foil Judge promo Dothy Slayers. And are those not like the most gorgeous thing ever? Holy shit. Oh God. We're gonna have to put like a age restriction on this video for how pretty that is. That's like, love that. Love those old border foils. I also got a Gem Palm Polluter. in that old border foil for that eventual Narfi deck that I'm going to build. Pretty cool. Got a foil Vidalcan Aether Mage, which was really nice for the for my Crackling Drake Murmuring Mystic. This is one of the ways you tutor for it. I got like a zillion copies of Snuff Out, Tortured Existence, Culling the Weak, Ashnod's Altar, Rakdos Carnarium. Check this out. I got 4. You see the price tag there? Can you read that? That's merchant scrolls for $3 a piece. And when I looked at it, I was like, are those $3 a piece? And they're like, yes. And I was like, how many are there? And they were like, let's see, and I'll have all of them, is what I said. So I got 5 merchant scrolls for $3 a piece. They're in they're perfect condition. What else? Yeah, just got oh yeah, Night's Whispers. I got 7 Night's Whispers for $1 a piece. Anyways, yeah. Lots of copies of Darkness. Lots of copies of Darkness. $5 a piece for a Darkness is like amazing. Yeah, so got some good stuff. Read the Bones, bunch of Sign and Bloods, nice ones. So anyways, yeah, Dothy Slayer, we're definitely playing that card. Love it, love it, love it, love it. Sultari Foot Soldier, another one. This is a great card. 1/1 Shadow is based. This is actually, in my opinion, this is better than Dothy Slayer because it's all we care about is that it's evasive and it's cheap. So like the complete, like the best version of this is actually Changeling Outcast, but this does the trick too. Sultari Trooper is also a 2-mana unblockable because it's when it's attacking, it's getting a +1 power. Sultari Visionary would be really cool to play here because essentially we have like we can make blockers that are vigilant with our knights. And while we do so, we can attack with our unblockable creatures, pairing them with cranial plating and other things. This one destroys enchantments every time that it connects, which is really strong. So I think that's going to be good. And that is all of them. What is this? Whenever it deals damage and isn't blocked, you may deal 1 damage to target creature. If you do, prevent all damage. What the hell is this? Huh. So does this mows down TPI every single turn? I'm going to quietly take this off the screen. You didn't see this, chat. Ignore what you just saw. Okay? Just shh, quiet child. Okay. So we got our threats here. Okay, other good cards. Well, there's always Pestilence. That's a good card, I hear. Do you guys think Pestilence is it's a good card, right? It's a good one. Crypt Rats. I think we like these. Crypt Rats is particularly sick here because what does Crypt Rats work well with? Oh, right, all of our reanimation spells. Cool. You might have noticed that Recommission and Return Triumphant have the ability to put +1 power and toughness on Crypt Rats, meaning that we can reuse it over and over again. Very nice, very nice. Sweepers. Knight of the New Coalition, worth running. We have them here in the sideboard. Every card and creature that is 4 mana and makes 2 vigilant bodies is in the sideboard currently. They might be good enough just to turn on the ability, right? Like if we don't, but I don't know. If we did, they would literally be for the only purpose of making this black tap ability good. Yes, NF, absolutely. Definitely edit that out. We're gonna do some redactions later on. It's very important that that we guard our guard the sanctity of the TPI. We don't need this foul repeatedly killing our commander thing going on. That's not what we're about. We're not about that. We're not about that in here. How did we like this Crown of Awe? It's like only keeping our knights alive, But it is, well, it's actually just protection, right? This is just protection. If we put it on Ariel, she doesn't die to red and black stuff. She gets bounced maybe, which is, I think, actually the funny thing. I think that Ariel is going to most commonly die to bounce effects. And it won't be dying, but it'll be like our opponent will go end of turn, bounce Ariel, and like bounce Ariel, and then we blow, like try blow up one of their creatures, and then they like Tamio's safekeeping it, and then they combo off. I think that's how it's gonna get removed most often, is actually blue stuff. Because the combo players is what this dunks on. Like this commander, if it's in play, if it has one knight, is going to kill combo creatures over and over and over again. Austin says, God forbid TPI gets new tech against it. You know, nobody asked you, Austin, for your anti-TPI tech. Nobody heard this. You're drunk, go home. TPI is a very good commander, and you're absolutely right. TPI has a lot of answers to it, though. Like every sweeper in existence hurts TPI. Every piece of removal kills everything in TPI. So yeah, TPI has lots of answers. It's a good deck with lots of things that control it, just like anything else, right? Just like any other thing. I need to get my headphones charging here. One sec. Why is this still not? It's giving me beeping sounds, you see, chat, and it's disruptive. Let's see. I need a little recharger. The beeping will drive me crazy. Charger down here. I feel like I'm getting a moment from like Anchorman where he's like, Baxter, bark twice if you're in Milwaukee. Gotta find the charger. Aha! We have found it. And just in the nick of time, the beeping was starting to make me crazy. Very sensitive to the repeat beeping sounds that are coming from my headphones. My headphones have also gotten like, you use them like every day a ton, and it's like any battery. Like if you charge it, recharge it, recharge it enough times, eventually it just like stops holding a charge. You know what I mean? All right. Get a little. There. Cool. All right, back to the build. Austin says, I've got to head out, but I'll check back later and see who ended with the list. Have a good night. Austin, thanks for coming by. I appreciate all your recommendations. And thanks for sticking around for a little bit. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And you will see the end result soon. And yeah, hope you have a good rest of your night. All right. Where were we doing? We were looking at shadow creatures, right? What about OTAG Edict? All right, chat, let's have a chat here. OTAG and functions are tags in Scryfall that allow you to look for certain effects. And I'll tell you what, if this one thing that we could really use right now is an expansion of the tags. And that requires somebody doing the work manually with Scryfall. If one of you out there in the ether, whoever hears this, if you hear this, SOS, we need somebody to make an edict tag, a protection tag, a reanimation tag. Okay. We need these things. Grave flicker, like undying evil type effects, grave flickers. There's a bunch of them that just don't exist, right? So instead we need to do O each, O sack, O creature, this kind of thing, right? It's obnoxious. Oh, look at this. We get, ooh, but this one, when it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked, you have to kick as part of the cost. So this one here is not actually a knight, and we can't reanimate it to get the edict. Chain Devil will be good with the reanimation. Demon's Disciple is great with the unearth. Fleshbag Marauder, great with the unearth. I mean, Gangrenous Zombies also comes back over and over, but I don't think this card is very good. Rot-Tide Garganta is actually a pretty cool card because Rot-Tide Garganta does not have to exploit, and if it doesn't, it's just a 5-mana 5/4. And sometimes that's what you want. Sometimes you don't want to Edict, you just want another blocker or another attacker. So we can throw this in sideboard. And that's about it. You know, we could play something like Vermin Gorger that could like sacrifice our creatures that we make to like drain people, but I just don't think that's very good. I think we might also want Righteous Aura. I really like Righteous Aura. For those of you who haven't watched a lot of the channel, I really like this card. It's amazing with the Monarch and the Initiative. It's incredible for turning off commander damage because you just pay 2 life, and for 2 life, you turn off commander damage. At the real low cost of like 2 mana at first. So you can tutor it with Shred Memory and then 1 mana every time you want to turn it off. Some decks can't beat this. And that's why I like playing it, right? It's very heavy in certain matchups. We could play, you know, Prismatic Strands is actually really good here. And actually, to be quite honest, Battle Screech is too. Yeah, Battle Screech with the white creatures thing. Oh, white, oh, creature. Guardian's Pledge is pretty savage in this deck, isn't it? Oh my god, we could play Holy Light as a sweeper that only kills things that aren't ours. Kills some shadow creatures, like Dothy Slayer, I think is the only one. Huh. First Strike, +2/+1. That's kind of cool. That's 5 mana though. Holy shit. Never mind. Ivory Giant. Tap all non-white creatures. Just dominate everybody. Silver Flame Ritual. There's also... so this one's interesting. These effects that give +1/+1 counters forever would be like Supply Runner. I think the Supply Runner could actually be pretty good. 5 mana, 2/2, put a +1/+1 counter on each other creature you control. And then there's also... so O each, O creature, O +1/+1, O counter. Yeah, now for Wrath, now for Ruin. They gain Vigilance. So they already have Vigilance, but they do get +1/+1 forever. Because +1/+1 forever means that we don't die to sweepers anymore. Our board doesn't die to sweepers. It also buffs up our unblockable shadow creatures. I like that. Silver Flame Ritual is the other one, of course. There's not a ton of these. Yeah. There's Inspiring Roar is another one. None of them are instant, which is a shame, because if they were instant, then we could do it in response to a Fiery Cannonade or a Breath Weapon. Okay, this is a Fog. This is a #Fogs. Okay, this is going to go under lands. Okay. Now we're into the, just like the good stuff here. You know, the meat and potatoes. Cathar Commando for Disenchant. Sultari Visionary for Disenchant. We have these creatures for the edicts. We're going to just do a little bit of housekeeping here. Chain Devil for edicts. We have Fleshbag Marauder and Demon's Disciple for edicts. That might be more than we want to play, but we'll see. These are kind of some of the best ones. Anthems is what this is going to go under. Relief Captain's basically an anthem. It's doing something very similar. We probably want like a single copy of Ephemerate in here. And Benevolent Blessing. And then Core Skyfisher. Let's see, Benevolent Blessing. This is going to go under Protection. And we're going to have this in here because of our package for flickering. And we could also do Chomano's Blessing. Those cards are like, Stave Off is also really good. The only thing is that Stave Off is 1 mana, which is great, but it also doesn't stick around. Chomano's Blessing and Benevolent Blessing stick around. So they do the same thing for a little bit more. And what we can do is we can tag a combo creature when somebody tries to put something on it with a Benevolent Blessing. And then later on, we can pick it back up with Core Skyfisher or with Stockpiling Celebrant to reuse it. But Stave Off is quite good. It's 1 mana protection that stops your opponent's stuff. Okay, so we've got kind of the meat and potatoes of this. We've got the reanimation. We've got the extort. The nice thing with this too is that we don't actually have to have as much card advantage or removal in this deck because Ariel kind of acts as this mana sink, right? Like if we don't have good top decks, then we just like draw cards by sinking our mana into making bodies. It's kind of cool. Oh yeah. Dimir House Guard. This is just a really good card that finds. This is actually just under tutors. Let's go here and let's get rid of the draw part of this here. Tutors. Okay. And the tutors here are finding every 4 mana card. This is just like really strong. Lotus Eye Mystics is another one. What's a Ironclad Slayer? 3 mana, 3/2, return an aura or equipment from your graveyard to your hand. It's pretty good. Human War. It's a human. That's kind of cool too. Let's do it under sideboard. Could play just Auramancer, which can get any enchantment back, which includes Pestilence, includes Righteous Aura, which is an enchantment. Let's start getting some good removal in here. So Victim of Night, Grasp of Darkness. We're looking to be pretty evenly split white and black, so Defile might not be good enough. Snuff Out will be good. Go for the Throat. Doomblade. Let's see, can we do cost? White. Black. Let's see, no, black. So we do 1 and then black. Can we do that? Does that work? That didn't do what I thought it would. How do I search for a specific kind of cost? I want the splashable, colorless, and a black instance. Huh. Cost is 1. We gotta do for, let's see if we go to tips maybe. Scryfall syntax. I'm gonna pull this up in another thing here. So mana costs. You can do M or mana. Okay, to search for specific costs. Okay, so yeah, we'll do that. That's kind of nice. So we do M. Why does that? Interesting. It even brings up land cycling as an option there. Okay, so like that, and then type instant O tag removal. And we're going to also put in there creature. Or actually it'll be O creature or O non-land permanent, right? Because there's going to be some of those too. Okay, Anoint with Affliction is pretty good, although Anoint is interesting. Anoint is Exile, which is good. Um, but it doesn't kill big things. And big things are a bigger problem for us here. We want to be able to kill big things because we have lots of blockers, we have fogs, we have ways to slow the game down, we have lots of ways to gain life with the extort. Um, so like combat damage isn't going to be as big of an issue. So Anoint may or may not make it. Oh, you know what? It'll be Candy Grapple, 100%. Cast Down, probably because we're splashing a color, we need to play this. But we have lots of options here. Deadly Alliance does not work here. Death Rattle spooks me. There's a lot of green combo creatures out there. Doomblade, Echoing Decay, absolutely. This card is very staple right now. It kills most combo creatures, and it kills TPI, kills gut stuff, kills gut, kills all of TPI's tokens, kills all of Abdel's tokens. Like, there's just tons of reasons to play this card right now, along with Echoing Truth. NF says, surprised someone hasn't used AI to help get all the keywords in Scryfall. Agreed. You know, if somebody knows anybody who'd be interested in doing that, like, reach out to me, and actually reach out to Clay. Clay has a lot of the connections in the in this space for, you know, making stuff like that, infrastructural background stuff that we all sort of rely on and that we take for granted. He's really good at working within those spaces. So you can reach out to Clay and say, hey, I know somebody, or I myself have that skill set to go and just manually add those in to Scryfall. Final Flourish is very good for many of the same reasons that Candy Grapple is. Go for the Throat, good. Harsh Sustenance, probably not good enough. How did this make it through? Oh, you know what it is? I did colon and not equals. Yeah. So it's giving me stuff that has black, black, because it has the black in it, the one in the black. Okay, Pack Disdain, maybe. Terror is actually a card I've been playing a lot lately. It might seem weird, but black creatures generally aren't huge, and black creatures are almost never combo creatures. So this card is actually very flexible. It won't kill a huge Passageway Seer, but like there's a lot of other ways to deal with that, you know? Like bounce it. You know, bounce it if it's huge. You reset all the work on it. Yeah, they get to gain the initiative again, but it's like very easy answer for it. Tragic Fall. It's very interesting. No cards in hand. Vicious Offering. You know, can be playable when you have incidental bodies. But okay. Now let's look for stuff that is black. So we have Grasp of Darkness, of course. Victim of Night. Those ones are very good. What about white-black? We have Executioner's Blow and Final Payment. Final Payment might actually be playable. 5 life is a lot. That is a lot. Okay, we're going to do Impetus. The Impetus cards are some of the most... these are some of the best cards in the format right now. Martial Impetus, Parasitic Impetus. These ones are both good. All the Impetus cards are big 2-for-1s, and if they're not 2-for-1s, then they're basically giving you pressure on other people through your opponent's creatures, and then those creatures can't attack you. So you take their premium attacker and you make it swing at everybody else for the rest of the game. Becomes their problem. If they don't like it, they can kill it. In that case, we got 2 cards from the table. They're tutorable. They help protect the Monarch and the initiative. And if your opponent is not in colors, they give Hexproof or Shroud. There's very few ways to stop these from working. So if somebody's in mono black, say they have a big Passageway Seer, or say they have, will be another example, maybe a shadow creature with a cranial plating on it, or an All That Glitters, or maybe they're, basically these go on the creature and the only thing they can do is sack their creature, because regeneration, protection, indestructible, these things don't work to stop these. and then you just hit everyone else, and it generates value. Like this one gains us life, this one buffs up all their other creatures, so they're really good. And then the other one that goes along with this is Spectral Grasp. The only problem is that you have to be cautious about how many of these cards you play, because they do come at the cost of slots in your removal, right? They're going to occupy removal slots, and they're not instant speed answers to combo players. They do not stop combos. Ariel stops combos though, so these are good. Oubliette will be in here too. Nasty Oubliette. We love putting this card in decks. So that's pretty good. We'll probably also do like Oblivion Ring, because I think that the creatures that allow us to like return a creature to our non-land permanent to our hand are going to be good with this. Journey to Nowhere. So we can basically increase the quality of our removal overall by relying more on Ariel to mow down combo creatures. And then Ashes to Ashes is an option as well. We do gain a lot of life with the Extort, and I love this card just in general. Is Ashes to Ashes ever printed in like 7th edition, like somewhere where you could get like a really expensive foil? When was this printed? Just the Dark, 5th, 4th. So nothing with like fancy old bordered foils, right? Okay. Okay, so this is a removal. And then this is removal, removal, oop. Cast down might not make the cut, we'll see. Because we aren't going to go like super low on removal in this deck, but I think that there's an argument for maybe going a little bit lower because our commander actually has removal on it. So I think that's a possibility. Like 12 might be the spot with edicts and sweepers, and we're like presenting a pretty good amount of interaction. Journey to Nowhere, Spectral Grasp and Martial Impetus, Oubliette, Oblivion Ring. Yeah, you can see we're kind of overloaded on it. 15, 16, yeah, it's more than we need. So what we'll do is we'll probably cut Grasp of Darkness. We'll cut Cast Down. These are pretty good. We could play Unmake or Crib Swap. Unmake is pretty pip intensive, but that might not be that big of a deal. Guardian's Pledge, man, that card is insane in this deck. Although the one that gives +1 toughness and first strike is 5 mana, wasn't it? So creatures, first strike, first, and then +2 type instant. I don't know if we're going to find anything. Ah, that's expensive. Oh, this one's pretty cool. Oh, you have to pay 7 mana for +2/+2 and first strike. So on the bottom end, it's 3 mana to make it so that our stuff doesn't die to sweepers. On the top end, it's extraordinarily expensive. Sanctified Charge is +2/+1. White creatures gain first strike, so it's not everything. But this 5 mana, it's just like so much. Ugh. We'll put these in considering, but they're probably not playable. Was Feed the Swarm added? Feed the Swarm was not added, and I think we actually don't play it here because we have Cathar Commando, Westfold Rider, Sultari Visionary. You see what I mean? Like we play Feed the Swarm when we don't have good disenchants, right? It is just unconditional kill a thing, and maybe the life doesn't actually matter, but like sorcery speed removal can only be so much of what we do. Like we still need to have some stuff that, and you'll notice here like Candy Grapple, Doomblade, Echoing Decay, Final Flourish, Go for the Throat, Terror, Victim of Night, all of those cards kill combo creatures, right? At instant speed, almost unconditionally. Like they all do that baseline. Then they have another mode, that might go a little bit further, like Candy Grapple, we can sack a token and make it -6/-6, tag a Dargo, tag a Pneumatic Wall. Same with Final Flourish, sack a creature, sack an artifact, whatever it is. They've got an alternate mode there. Oblivion Ring can deal with hard to deal with stuff. Does that make sense, Frank? Like Feed the Swarm is staple in mono black. And it's staple in Rakdos because we don't have good ways to deal with it. The other way we can deal with aura removal, like the other way we can deal with aura removal, like a deep freeze or a impetus or just any of like other things that lock our commander down. Pardon me. Is with Core Skyfisher and with the Stockpiling Celebrant. We return our commander back to our hand. So I think these are actually really good in this deck for that reason. They're also kind of cool with Hopeful Vigil. We can like do that over and over again. They're pretty good with all these 4 mana 2/2s. We can bring it back, cast it again. That's nice. I think we're going to want one effect that gives all of our stuff +1/+1 permanently. And we want it to be 4 mana because of Dimir Houseguard. So Guardian's Pledge is really good. This is such a blowout. But like these other ones being permanent means that we just never get affected by that again. Unless they, Echoing Truth our stuff. Our Knights do die to Echoing Decay too. That's important to mention. So. Okay. We have 69 cards in deck right now. And we have no lands, but we're pretty close, actually. I think Ashes to Ashes is a really good card, but I just think our removal is really good already that we don't need to dip into this 2-for-1. I really like the card, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think it's what we want to be doing right now. Silver Flame Ritual would be good. Silver Flame, though, I think the way this works is that so there's a better version of that, which is Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin. This is going to Tempt, which doesn't matter really, although Tempt does work nicely with most of the Extort creatures. If you put that on a Basilicus creature or a Syndic of Tithes, Tithe Drinker, that does allow these things to be mostly unblockable in some cases, which is pretty cool. So I think that the Now for Wrath, Now for Ruin is going to go in the main deck. And this is going to be an Anthem. We already have these 4, though. So the question is, you can Reanimate and Ephemerate, Supply Runner, and Relief Captain. Maybe this isn't, maybe Relief Captain. So like say we have like 2 tokens in play and we cast Relief Captain and we put a counter on Ariel, token. That's pretty much the same thing, right? And the vigilance doesn't matter because most of our creatures have vigilance anyways. It could matter with like one of our initiative creatures. It could matter with it could matter. But maybe this is an overload. My intuition says it's an overload. I really like Battle Screech here, by the way. This is great with Cranial Plating and with what's the word? All the glitters. Because attaching Cranial Plating to a 1/1, making it a very real threat, and then they have to kill the 1/1 when you've got 4 creatures on 1 card is not good value. Feels very bad indeed. Okay, so let's have threats. Let's just have a category for threats. And this is like creatures that we plan to attack with. I love this low curve sprinkled into the deck where we just have like these cheap, disposable, evasive creatures. I think Soltari Lancer might not be good enough. Oh, it's a knight though. Yeah, maybe it is good enough. Stockpiling Celebrant is not a threat. This is like, I don't even know what category this goes in, unfortunately. These are threats. This is a threat. We can attack with these. They've got Vigilance. They're great. Vicious Battle Rager is an amazing target for all this. I think Trailblazer's Torch is going to come out. I don't see that being good. Palace Sentinels and Thorn are not threats. Anything with evasion is a threat. Okay, so we're doing pretty good. Here. This is looking to be a really sick deck, actually. And it's going to be pretty inexpensive. You can see that once I take Oubliette out, it's $44. I bet it gets even cheaper if we change some of the printings on this. on this stuff. Like this one right here. Oh, that is a pretty cheap printing. Wow, the price on this card tanked. Oh, I love the Dread Return from the 40k stuff. Super cool. If Amorphous Axe starting to look good again, but again, you know, maybe these are just good enough. Oh, we did this whole time without having a Citrus Priest or Bloodseeker in the deck. These are important cards. What are the other stacks cards that we need in here? Where do we put it? Where did it go? Okay, Bloodseeker is Gain Drain. What are the other one? Oh, Honor Guard and Standard Bearer. Coalition Honor Guard. And I go back and forth on Standard Bearer. It's a creature that dies to all of our sweepers. It does come back with Unearth, Recommission, and with Return Triumphant. So that's good. Coalition Honor Guard comes back with Late to Dinner, Dread Return, that kind of stuff. It's not nothing. I think both of these are probably like very much something we want. It's kind of funny that Coalition Honor Guard is not a knight, right? Because these do look, maybe they look more soldiery. What do you guys think? Looking pretty knightly. Flavor Fail? Come on, Flag Bearer, what does that mean? It's a silly creature type. This needs an errata, just like the dinosaurs, right? Seems like it's shaping up to be a deadly deck. Do you have a favorite Orzhov Commander? Yeah, this is not the last Orzhov deck you're going to see. I have another Orzhov deck in that I have been playing in the background. I've been kind of quiet about it. I've been telling the supporters who've known about this deck for some time, but there's another Orzhov deck that I think is very similar structure to this. And it would be either one would be a great choice. I think this is a very deadly deck. Yeah, I think there are people excited about Ariel because it was Knight's typal, and I think there are people who are very down on Ariel because it's too slow. And I think that both were wrong. It's not a Knight's deck, and it's not too slow. The fact that you can attack with this commander over and over and over again while doing other things is just like a lot of action economy, right? Like you are unlocked you're just very flexible. It's just, this is just like a good stuff deck. It's packed full of great cards in these colors that generically do powerful things. You know, I'm kind of tempted to play Lotus Eye Mystics. And here's why. It only gets enchantments back. Oh, maybe that's the problem with it. It has prowess, so you can make it bigger. You can make it a relevant attacker. It gets back our enchantments, and it's 4 mana, so we can tutor for it with Dimir Houseguard, which is kind of the original idea. We could play something cheaper like Auramancer or... crap, I can't remember the other one. The other 3 mana one. Does the same thing. We could also just play like Custody Squire, which is a flyer. Custody Squire is a 3/3 flyer, but your opponents choose what you get. So you aren't likely to get back the thing that we care about, which is the problem. So the other option, Disciple of the Sun, gets back a 3 mana permanent while being a lifelinker. This is actually pretty good. This gets back all of our extort creatures. It's a lifelinker for cranial plating and for all the glitters. And it gets back both all the glitters and cranial plating. Yeah, this is what we want. This is where we want to be. Yeah, 100%. In fact, this could come in for something else here, like maybe Fell Horseman isn't where we want to be. I know it's a knight, but like we have, I mean, I don't know. Fell Horseman's a good card, but I just don't know. Reanimation, Recursion. This one is kind of a threat that we could attack with because of the lifelink, but it doesn't have evasion. So actually we're going to remove it for that reason. Remove that tag. Hopeful Vigil is starting to look kind of... I mean, it's fine, but like, it's also, like, I think we can do better. Okay. We have very few draw spells, but we have, ways to return things. The lack of draw spells is a little concerning, but we have too much removal, so we can cut down on this. We could probably cut back on Sultari Visionary. Sultari Visionary, though, I have to say, Sultari Visionary, like, if we can find room for this card in this deck, dude, this card, like, ends some decks. Like, if you play this against a Satyr Enchanter early and you just start, like, picking off their enchantments over and over, or you pick off, like, a Gretchen over and over, picking things off, it's very good. We could probably cut, like, Lancer, maybe even Dothy Marauder. I think, like, the Fell Horseman is going to start to look kind of goofy compared to, like, the quality of these other things, because Fell Horseman, we just have a lot of other ways to get creatures back. Oh, we need Gary. Please, somebody, like, who does the Scryfall thing, can you tag Gary with Gray Merchant with Gary, so that when you search Gary, it comes up? Oh, no, it doesn't. What if I search Gary? Does it? No. Gary should be searchable with Gary, right? Lobert, how much longer are you going? Till it's finished, my friend. I think we're actually going to finish this one. Last stream, we didn't. We actually were doing, was that Narfi? Yeah. And we did not finish it. But good to see you, Lobert. Hope you had a good stream. We're getting pretty close. We're probably like 15 cards off right now if we add lands. Like, if we've already got one land, so let's add 33 Swamp. Let's just do this. Like that. And we get a sense of how far over we are. We are not that far over. However, we don't have a lot of draw spells. We have a lot of, like, reanimation, recursion. A couple of our draw spells are like Wander in Death, get that over. A lot of it's like reusing things. We don't need a ton of card advantage in this deck, actually, because we don't have any ramp. Oh, that's going to put us over the edge. Oh, God. Oh, no. Here we go. MV equals 2. All right, yeah, we do need ramp. We need ramp. Arcane Signet. Charcoal Diamond could play. I'm a huge fan of Flywheel Racer, but I don't know if this is the right deck for it. Felwar Stone. Guardian Idol is really good, but Guardian Idol is the power of Guardian Idol, Fountain of Ichor, and Flywheel Racer, the 3 man rocks or person rocks, creature rocks. They call them man lands, but if we're moving to more gender inclusive language here, then we'd say person rocks, I guess, or creature rocks. Creature rocks would be good. The creature rocks are really, really, really good in this format. However, our board state is pretty resilient. So where these cards are really good is that your opponent sweeps the board, they play an initiative or a monarch creature, and then if you have one of these, you can just activate it and get it from them. And if you do that, you're going to hold it for a long time probably, because everybody else has no creatures, right? What's up, Double Beast? How you doing? But in this deck, our board is pretty resilient. It's pretty hard to imagine that we would get, like, fully swept and that we wouldn't have anything left. Thoughts on Star Compass? I love the card. I play Star Compass in a lot of decks. We're going to play Ornithopter of Paradise too. And the reason is that anytime you have Cranial Plating and All the Glitters, in a pinch, you can slap it onto an Ornithopter and it flies. It also makes colors, any color. So it satisfies our pip requirements. We're going to play Orzhov Signet. Sorry, pals, we're not playing Marching to a Drone in this one. But trying to decide whether I want to spoil this or not. Let's see. How many people we got here? Holy smokes. Got a bunch of you. Okay. I'll give you guys the juice. I may build a casual deck soon, and we may do it on stream, but I'm not going to say anything more. Cool. Is that good enough? Could play Prismatic Lens. This card is not my favorite. I play it in decks where I want 10 or more 2-mana rocks. So I play this in monocolored decks. I play this in decks like Passageway Seer if I was playing midrange or control, where the whole goal is to, like, launch Passageway Seer out on turn 3. But outside of that, I don't like having to filter my mana. It is untapped, which is cool, but, like, colorless, I don't. It's fine. Yeah, Lobert, I know, right? It'll be fun. It's going to be a good one. Definitely keep your eyes out for it. And yeah, if you aren't already, subscribe to the stuff so you can get notifications about that. I'll also make a quick plug too. We've had a lot of really generous support lately from people through Patreon. And one of the ways that you can see what's coming, like well in advance, like months in advance in some cases, is to sign up for the Patreon and join the supporters only section of the Discord. There are really, really cheap ways to get into the supporter section, anywhere from as little as $2 a month. $2 a month literally gets you access to so much stuff, and it costs you $24 a year. And I want to mention too, actually, I've been thinking a lot about this dynamic of like how content creators make their time, if they're not independently supported, right, by another job or, just already being secure, financially secure. One of the most powerful ways that we can support each other in making, independent content like this is to donate very small amounts of money with a lot of people. So like, for example, in our Discord, if every person in the Discord contributed $1 a month to this content, it would quite literally like change my life right now. Like, for the cost of $12 a year for a person, they could make a massive impact on like my financial situation. So keep that in mind if you are interested in contributing further, if you want to be a part of this community in a deeper way, see all the amazing content coming on up ahead. The patrons today voted on this. They decided that we were going to play this, and they also get to see the next six, I think it is, next six Let's Builds that are coming up, and they get to see every update I make to all of these decks. I do keep them all updated, and I'll tell you exactly what goes in and out of the deck. So just wanted to make a plug there. We're going to thank the patrons in a little bit here too, because we have 20 patrons now, and we've had some really generous support lately. So wanted to throw that out there. Okay, Thought Vessel, we're not going to draw a ton of cards in this deck, so we don't need that. Prismatic Lens could be good, because like a turn 3, like turn 2 Rock, turn 3 Ariel is actually pretty sick. So maybe a card like Mind Stone, because we're not drawing a lot of cards, is good. We could play Marble Diamond. We could play Charcoal Diamond. I like these cards too. They're good enough. They make the pips for the Extort, which is good. And then at mana value 3, we do get a lot of really good ones. And this is where we oftentimes find ourselves kind of choked up a little bit. Ashnod's Altar. Oh, interesting. Ashnod's Altar with our tokens. So if we bank up on it's weird because you're paying 3 mana to make the token, and then Ashnod's Altar is only getting 2 of it back. But if we get this late, what is it doing? It's not much. It's not much. It's not good enough. No. All right. We just had to kind of explore the thought for a moment. Bonder's Ornament, because we don't have a ton of card advantage, actually could be good here. Fountain of Vicar is great. Lobert says, I don't know if I'd run a lot of 3 mana ones. Yeah. So, and that's as a general practice, and actually Lobert, this would be a really fun video to make with you at some point. For those of you who don't know, Lobert makes great content for both casual and for competitive Pauper Commander. Has awesome, like nice ASMR. He's got a great radio voice. And he makes these great, super thorough and lengthy breakdown videos on classes of effects in Pauper Commander. So he's got one on protection, which Lobert, I should just make you, can I do that right now? How do I just make you a mod in these things? Because if you're not a mod, you can't post links, and I want you to be able to post links. Let's see. Add as a moderator. Oh, look at that. Managing moderator, standard moderator can review, can hide, put a user. Let's see, blocked words. Okay. Yeah, we'll do as a standard moderator. Lobert, try posting a link to that protection video if you can, because I want people to see that. It's a really good video. And what I was thinking is we could do a video on mana rocks. It wouldn't be as long, but what you're pointing out where you don't want a lot of 3 mana rocks is often the case. But there are some very tempting mana rocks. Fountain of Vicar is amazing. Bonder's Ornament's good. Infernal Idol draws cards. You've got cards like Honored Heirloom, which is like onboard stacks effects. Lantern of Revealing, not so good. But then you get up to cards like Network Terminal, and Network Terminal is so good. Orzhov Relic is also great because all you need to do to draw the card and gain 3 life is to tap it. So in a deck like this, I wouldn't run more than 3. And even 3 is like, a bit. In this deck, we might even focus on the ones that draw cards. So like we're not going to play, I don't think we're going to play Heirloom. We might not be a Graveyard Hate deck. We'll put this one in the sideboard. Orzhov Locket would be much more up my alley. Pristine Talisman is great if your deck doesn't gain life and you're a control deck. So like I put this one in, I think I have this one in Crackling Drake because it's like an is it control deck. There's no way to regain your life total. This helps you do it while, being an untapped rock on 3. I want this card to be good, but I think it's bad. Hey, it worked. Hell yeah. Oh, that's fabulous. So yeah, if you haven't already, go check out Laubert's content. Also, make sure to like and subscribe to his content. He's got a great channel. It's very much worth your time. He's also got a Patreon as well. So if you want to support him, that's a great way to do it. The link should be in the description to all of his videos as well. And I want to mention Laubert is our newest server partner. So he's one of those trusted content creators that shares a lot of our values in the community, and he uses our community as a place to find people for his live stream games, which, Laubert, would you tell him what days? It's on Monday before this live stream at 4 p.m. PST. And then I think there's one other day that you do them too, but I'm forgetting. So let him know, and you can get games in with Laubert on live stream. You might even be in one of his recorded games where he narrates them, like Playing with Power. Okay. Good. Okay, the rocks are going to put us to 117. This is all of my discussion videos. I've done a Mana Rocks. Oh, I've done one on Mana Rocks, but I think we should do it. Having your ideas would add a lot. Would add a lot, and there's a lot I didn't touch on. Okay, so you've already done rocks before. That's great. Okay, cool. Well, I scratched that. I mean, we could if you wanted to, but if you've already got it, we don't need to duplicate efforts. Just 4 p.m. on Monday. Yep. So the cool thing is that on Mondays you can start your day or start your afternoon of content watching with Laubert, and then you can come right over into these streams, which is great, where we're doing deck building. Try and fill these things out. Love the commentary style videos. Yeah, they're really good. He does an amazing job. The one that I actually got to play in and add some color commentary to was really cool. I was playing one of my favorite control decks, which is Throw Parasite. I'm actually going to put Ornithopter as a threat here because it is an evasive creature that we can attach things to. As funny as that sounds. That's the way I think about these things. Felwar Stone is often going to be just producing black, I think, in a lot of cases. But I think that's fine. We're going to probably want no more than 10 rocks, so we're going to get pinched here a little bit. But we are going to have, like, some of our card draw is going to be in our rocks. Get Ryan to do one of those. Yeah, we did one. So NF, if you get a chance, go check out the one with Crypt Rats, Thrall Parasite, Bastion Protector, and Thraben Watcher. Was a really cool prototyping of that concept. I have ideas, he says. Ooh, scheming. Tricksy, nasty hobbitses. I have to take a quick moment here and check my messages. Because my partner is going to be coming over a little bit to bring me some food. She is the best. We had a disagreement about a particular instrumental we heard recently, and I was convinced it was 50 Cent. It turns out it was Eve, Gwen Stefani, and Stevie J. Called a song called "Let Me Blow Your Mind." Let me blow ya mind. I was wrong. You heard it here first. Okay. Also, I wanted to drop a link here. I've been listening to some of the music I've been listening today. Link in the chat here. This is an artist called Disque that I've been really enjoying for kind of like ambient background, kind of pretty, Someday, now that I've learned how to do music licensing, maybe we'll have a little bit of music in the live streams. In fact, let me know here. I'm going to do a little chat here, a little poll. Music during live streams, ? Yay or nay? Yeah, let me know what you guys would like here, or what you folks would like, because we're always trying to find ways to improve the quality of the stream. Prior, I used to have music in all my live streams, and I really liked that, but it demonetized every video I made, basically, so can't have that. Can't have that. Let's see. Double B says, oh yeah, I can definitely see how you thought this was from 50. Let's see. Double Beast. Oh yeah, I can see how you definitely see how you thought this was from 50. Could you explain what you mean by 50? Sorry, maybe I think it was referring to something that I mentioned before, and my smooth brain may have lost exactly what we were talking about when you brought it up. Okay, so let's get real here. We got a lot of cards to cut. Let's keep only the splashable evasive creatures, maybe. Maybe double black isn't that bad because we're only 2 color. But like, you know, we could cut Soltari Lancer. Like Soltari Lancer is just a worse version of all the other unblockable creatures, right? Oh, that you could see how you thought this was 50 cent. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, I'm not crazy, right? Chat, listen to this. Let Me Blow Your Mind. Let Me Blow Your Mind by Eve, Gwen Stefani, and Stevie J. Tell me that doesn't sound like 50 Cent. I don't know. Okay, so here's the question, chat. We've got Dothy Marauder, which I think is really good. The splashability of it, where we just need 1 pip, is nice. Dothy Slayer is hard to extort off sometimes. Soltari Visionary is another disenchant in a deck that already has a lot of them, so maybe we don't need them. Okay, some people saying yes or no. I think part of it's going to be a question with the music of like what kind of music. It would be something generically enjoyable. That's the goal. So Soltari Visionary good enough? It's another double pip. It has the value attached to it. Maybe efficiency isn't the key. Maybe we just want like the pips to be cheap, to be easy, which would mean cutting, you know. And the other thing is like maybe core Skyfisher is good enough, but maybe stockpiling Celebrant isn't. Stockpiling Celebrant is a knight, which is really kind of cool. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. You guys can see the pole right underneath my face. Oh, accidental renaissance. I love it. I love it when stuff randomly works the way I would like it to work instead of me having to like customize it. NF says music is tough because if it's really chill, it adds to the stream, but also has a chance to turn people off. Yeah, that's true. That's true. There's always that risk. Lobert says, is there a deck link? I don't see one in the description. Thank you for reminding me, Lobert. You are a scholar and a saint. Here is the link. There is not one in the description. Let me change that really quick here. I didn't do one in the description because I was running a little bit behind today. And just, okay, there we go. Sweet. Austin says, popping back in because I took another look at the list. Is there a reason you're running Changeling Outcast but not Tormented Soul? Austin, Poggers, with the very important recommendation. Thank you. Super important. Yeah, Tormented Soul. Okay, so just as like a broad general statement, okay? Changeling Outcast and Tormented Soul and these shadow creatures have been wildly overperforming my expectations. They break board stalls. They maintain pressure. They can be made bigger with the Forge, right? They keep control of the Monarch and the Initiative. They're so good. They wear a cranial plating. They wear all the glitters amazingly well. They're cheap. You can they're so good off Throne of the Dead 3. If you flip a Changeling Outcast into play and it's a 4/4 unblockable, like your opponents are going to be quivering in their boots. It's a lot of damage. NF says, I believe you'll pick good jams. Well, thank you for your trust, NF. I would say I have pretty good musical tastes. I'm not bragging. I just think I think I do. I think I like music that is generally pretty good. And it's very subjective, of course. Everybody likes different kinds of music. But I get a lot of exposure to interesting kinds of music through my community of producer friends. I have a lot of friends who make music. So, yeah, they're all nuts with cranial plating. Exactly, yeah. So I think with the addition of Tormented Soul, we can go slimmer on the expensive ones. Soltari Lancer, let's talk about this card. This is the epitome of it's a knight. Okay, it's a knight, and it's unblockable. But like, really the reason we're playing this here and not cutting it is because it's a knight. Is that good enough? I don't think it is. Ooh, Lobert, cut short. Because of vigilance. That's big brain. I like that. I like that recommendation. I like that recommendation a lot. Actually, can we, let's try something else here. I wonder if oh, so I can't really do that, can I? What if oh, now I broke it. I broke it, chat. What have I done? Okay, like that. I was hoping I could show the pinned post as well. So like Soltari Lancer is just, it's very cool art. Yeah. It's like, I'm pretty sure this man is riding a seahorse. Am I wrong? Let me know in chat if this is a seahorse or an actual horse. Because it's looking like a land horse. It's looking like a horse that's on land, but maybe it's a seahorse actually. Like maybe we need AI to reconstruct this art and prove once and for all whether this is a seahorse or a real horse or a land horse. Maybe it's a spirit horse. It's a Soltari Knight. Okay, first strike is useless. It's a knight. It's the worst, it's the worst of the cards we have, right? I'm going to cut Lancer. Sorry, guys. Sorry, knight believers and enjoyers, but it's bad. Or it's the worst of them. I think Dothy Slayer, I love this card, but the double pips is a bit hard. And the same thing with Soltari Visionary, right? Seahorse vibes. I know, right? Big vibe. Soltari Visionary, oh man, it's so damn good. I think it's going to have to take the fall. We've got a lot of cards to cut. It's going to go on sideboard. This is also going to go on the sideboard. We really just want one pip, I think. That's kind of important. Cut Short was a great... let's look at other Convoke. So I love this. Lobert has done a lot of looking into these Convoke cards because he's a Thraben Watcher enjoyer, which is a cool card. And in that deck, you give everything Vigilance, which means that your Convoke cards are really good. And in this deck, we have Vigilance tokens, right? It's pretty sick. So something like Conclave Phalanx gains a lot of life. We can flicker it. Ephemeral Shields is actually free protection, but it's only indestructible. You know? And I don't think... This is the funny thing. These Orzhov decks that are playing Reanimation... They would rather not run protection in some cases because like all their cards are good. They can get them back from the graveyard. You play like maybe 1 or 2 protection spells that are auras that you can tutor with Heliod's Pilgrim, right? But we're not really into the protection business so much, or just we have a lot of good top decks, right? I think Cut Short is good. It only hits tapped creatures. You've cut the creature ones actually, only instants now. Okay. That's fair. That's fair. I think Cut Short is interesting. So Cut Short works with... does Cut Short work with the Tatiova Scouts? Can you kill the Scouts? So they tap to put a land into play. And then with the land trigger... Because they tap, that's the cost. When it Here, we need to look up a card really quick, okay? So we're going to do not only legal, and we're going to do Llanowar Scout, right? Okay. So the cost is before the colon, and that's to tap. So you tap it, and then if that resolves, then you put a land into play. Because what happens here is can Cut Short kill untappers, and can it kill Scouts, which are the main combo creatures we're worried about? And the answer is yes. Because if they go Llanowar Scout to tap, and the Tidal Bore is in hand, the Tidal Bore can untap their creature, which makes the Cut Short an invalid target. So the question is, does Cut Short kill combo creatures? And it does, because they have to tap it to untap, but the untap is a trigger, and they're not going to get it right away. So... What about like Rime Tender? Same thing? Yep. So they tap it and they don't get the land into play, which means that they have no way to like blow you out with Tidal Bore unless they want the Tidal Bore to not be part of the combo. Maybe that doesn't work. Because so if they're playing Tatiova and they go Llanowar Scout and they're tapped, they don't have the Mystic Sanctuary in play yet. Then they can cast Tidal Bore, targeting their creature, untap it, Tidal Bore goes into the graveyard, Mystic Sanctuary can then see it with the ETB. I don't know. It doesn't work with Tidal Bore, but it does work with Rhyme Tender type creatures. Yeah, Austin says, okay, actually, Lobert says, I think your commander is slow enough that if you have to replay it, that the ephemeral shields can be big. So here's the thing, Lobert, you're right. And at the same time, um, I don't think Ariel is a big target. Ariel is a target for combo players. Combo players may counter us because our removal mostly only kills combo creatures. With one other knight in play, we can kill 1 power creatures, and with another knight, we can kill 2 power. And that kills every combo creature really. Like even actually, kind of cool. With 0 knights in play other than Ariel, we can still kill a Mnemotic Wall. So I think so it's mainly killing combo creatures. So I think it's okay. Like we're not. I don't think Ariel's going to die that much. Is mainly what I'm trying to say. I don't think we need a lot of protection. Like Ariel is like sitting there and like oppressing the combo player, while the other people are like, well, you can't kill my Dargo. Um, And then Lobert says a lot of time it's freed from the real combos, and it works more than you think it would. It does. This does work against freed from the real because they're not using Tidal Bore to untap their creatures. They have to cast freed from the real on their creature, and when they tap it the first time, you kill it, right? So I think cut down is good here. Austin says this deck seems really short on card draw. None in the command zone, none of the black draw spells. Are you just hard mulliganing for Monarch and Initiative? Rowan's Search seems great in this deck. Yeah, the lack of card advantage is concerning. Yeah. But like we said before, we have a lot of reanimation stuff that serves as card advantage. Oh, wait, we got to go back to Convoke. Convoke. Why is it... okay, yeah, only legal. Okay. So cut short. Martyr's Soul. Triplicate Spirits. Oh, this card is so good. This card is so good. This is like Battle Screech level good. And these flyers, oh man, we have to play this. Mob. Mob is good. This is like Snuff Out in this deck, isn't it? Cut Short is also crazy good with Greatsword of Tyr and Rock's Veteran. How is that? What am I missing here? You attack and you put a +1/+1 counter and tap a creature. Interesting. I don't know how that works with Convoke. Cut Short. Oh, because you tap their creature. Did you guys see how smooth my brain was there? It took a long time for that one to process through the old noggin there. Lobert says, Orzhov is very slow colors, and a lot of the time it allows you to tap out while not feeling vulnerable. Yeah, I think that's great. I mean, Mob is the same way, right? Like these cards allow us to present no interaction. But what we do have is interaction with our commander. And then we have some of these free spells, which is good. So yeah, I like Mob a lot. That's going to change what we play in the deck for sure. But of course, all you guys are doing is giving me good cards, Dad. Could you stop? Could you stop doing that? Double B says, sorry to derail the conversation. That's what our channel is all about, my friend Double Beast. We get lost in the sauce all the time. Sorry to derail the discussion, but 50 song that sounds like Let Me Blow Your Mind is 21 questions. Right? Dude, we've got investigative journalist Double Beast here. Is 21 questions. It's also somewhat like Explosive by Dr. Dre. Totally. All right. See, I'm happy that I can at least have an informed and educated conversation with my partner about exactly what I was confused about. I wasn't crazy. Man, you can see we just have so many good cards we can play in this deck, right? Okay, 16 removal spells is too many. Jesus. So like is Doom... So Mob is going to be god-awful in the early game, right? Actually, I don't think Mob makes the cut. Cut Short, when we play our commander, is only 2 mana. But Mob is like a lot of mana. I don't think that's not going to make the cut. We'll put this one into the sideboard. We've got too many ramp spells as well, so we're going to cut some of this. We could cut... Oh, that's cool. Huh, sweet. Um, Gotta switch these over. I'm kind of anal about this stuff. I like my things in categories to like look the same. I don't know if you guys have the same compulsion, but I do. Um, okay, so Infernal Idol is draw, Network Terminal is draw, Bonder's Ornament is draw, Mind Stone is draw in a weird way. Cut the tapped rocks. Yeah, the question is like, how many rocks do we need? And I think the answer is probably like sub 10, you know? So like, do we prefer Mind Stone over Marble Diamond and Charcoal Diamond? I think these three are pretty clutch. We like these cards a lot. Infernal Idol, alternatively, could be just Orzhov Locket, which is one more mana hybrid to draw two. It makes white and black, and it doesn't lose us life. There's an argument for that. You guys let me know if you think it's Orzhov Locket or Infernal Idol. Because you can't play Orzhov Locket in a mono black deck. I don't think. No, I don't think you can. I appreciate the compulsion. Yeah, I'm trying to help you guys out here. Westfold Rider is another card that I'm maybe like, this is another example. It's like, are we playing this just because it's a knight? No. But are we happy if we just have Cathar Commando that's reanimatable over and over and over again? Cathar Commando is also just better. It's flash. It's one mana to use. You can get it back with all the reanimation spells. It's just better than Westfold Rider. The only difference being this is a knight. Does that make it good enough? And this is like what I'm talking about. The desire to make this a Knight's Tribal deck makes the deck worse, right? Because then we have cards like this where it's like, do we really need that many? Maybe we cut Oblivion Ring, but Oblivion Ring is also just hard removal for a lot of things. It could be that we cut Oblivion Ring because these creatures that can come back over and over again can be reused, whereas this is only reusable with Core Skyfisher. And then when we do that, we actually don't, like, they get their thing back, unless it's a commander. So let's cut Oblivion Ring. And now let's get in a couple of things I'd forgotten about. Troll of Khazad-dûm. And we're going to put in Alabaster Host Intercessor, and Eagles of the North. Now, I've been the loudest, probably one of the earliest advocates of these creatures, of these cycling effects. I was probably one of the first people on Twitter to point this out, and I only say that because I just want to illustrate like how good I think these are. You play these in every single deck, okay? There's very few decks you don't play them in, and when you play them, cut two basics. You cut two basics for the one mana cyclers, okay? Because they are just Ash Barrens. And if you pay attention when you're playing these cards to how often you prefer these to be the creature and not the Ash Barrens, you'll see how much I'm right about that. Austin says Westfold Rider doesn't cost mana to activate, so you can tap out and still have the option to destroy an artifact or enchantment. The problem is, Austin, is that it's only as a sorcery. And that's like one of the biggest problems with this. If it was free and instant, this would be so staple in white decks, right? It would be so staple, but it's not. It's still good, right? We can still attack with it. It's kind of unblockable because people don't really... It's unblockable to the people that want the naturalize in play, right? So you can kind of like attack people with this card and they're like, okay, I guess I can't block it because I need it against the combo player, right? So they're good. They're good. And the fact that we can bring them back is very strong. So Lobert says, I don't care. I don't know what Core Skyfisher is doing here. That's a great question. I think Core Skyfisher here is a card that I've been missing out on in white a lot of times, because it's just allowing us to reuse ETBs. That could be for an Edict, it could be the Initiative, it could be the Monarch, it could be for Parasitic Impetus or Martial Impetus or an Oubliette, right? It could be for Spectral Grasp, Journey to Nowhere. It can also like reset our commander if somebody pacifisms it, or if they put like an Of One Mind on, or sorry, Deep Freeze on it, or a Tamio's safe completion, or Witness Protection, we can like return it back. It also allows us to pick up an All That Glitters and replace it on something else. It can be used to pick up a Supply Runners or a Relief Captain to reuse the ETB. There's a lot of ways that it works, and I think that that's good enough. And it's a flyer. That's the big thing. It's an attacker that works well with the cranial plating and stuff, which is super cool. And if it dies, we can get it back with Disciple, the Sun, and all this other stuff to reuse our ETBs again. So I like it. I think that Stockpiling Celebrant is the other card I really liked here, and I was excited to build with it. But again, it's a knight. It's a good card, okay? It's like allowing us to reuse our ETBs, and it's giving us a scry, and it's like on rate, right? It's a 3/2 for 3. It doesn't have evasion, though. And I think if we were going to choose between Core Skyfisher and this, I would choose Core Skyfisher. Core Skyfisher is better for having more toughness and flying and being cheaper. This is optional. That's the only benefit, along with the Scry too. So I think Stockpiling Celebrant, we got to be like super ruthless. It's going. Gary here is a threat. Gary is also life gain and life drain. Host Intercessor is a land. It is also removal. We have so much removal in this deck, more than we need. Austin says, I think having a Knight synergy makes it overall better. Which one? Which one do you think is better? Okay, Triplicate Spirits. Is Triplicate Spirits also like, is this Fantasyland? Like if we have 3 creatures in play, this is 3 mana, tap our board, make 3 1/1s. Obviously, the ceiling on this is insane. You like attack, you know, cast it for free. I feel like Battle Screech is just an amazing card in like these white-black decks that have both, you know, the cranial plating and whatnot. But this might be the worst of the two. Oh, I see. Talking about the Westfold Rider. I see. Yeah, I mean, again, the Knight synergy isn't really what we're building around, though, right? Stave Off is going to have to come out, I think. Maybe not. I mean, like, I would almost prefer this to be Chomano's Blessing. Spirits is too slow. 6 is too much. Yeah, like, if we have our commander and 1 knight in play, which would require Ariel resolving, surviving, which I think is perfectly reasonable, and then making another body alone, right? But we have a lot of creatures. We have 43 creatures right now. That's crazy. That's actually kind of wild. How do we have 43 creatures? Jeez, that's many. I think we can cut one of these Edict creatures. We'll cut the Fleshbag Marauder because we want the human synergy with this Demon's Disciple. So 2 Edicts is totally fine. One of them is tutorable with Dimir Houseguard through Chain Devil. The other one is a human. They can both be reanimated. One can be reanimated with Unearth and Return Triumphant and Recommission. The other one with Dread Return and Late to Dinner. Oh, Triplicate does play with the reanimation thing with Dread Return. Yeah. Although, you know what? Let me raise us one better than Triplicate Spirits. Soul of Migration. Soul of Migration is the other one of these cards that's really good. It's super expensive, okay? We never want to pay full cost for this. The fact that we can is cool, but the ability to ephemerate it, to reanimate it, like right? Think about this. Maybe turn 5, maybe we evoke this, or maybe we do it turn 3. Maybe we evoke it on turn 3 because we had a rock in play. We go turn 1, something, turn 2, Arcane Signet, turn 3, evoke Soul of Migration. Later on, when we get a reanimation spell, we can bring it back and get even more flyers. This is way better. Earlier, somebody was pointing out how creatures are better in this deck than spells. And I think this is a great example. We want this over Triplicate Spirit. It's going to be about the same amount of mana, right? 4, like tap 2 creatures, pay 4. We're getting 2 1/1s only, so we're getting a little less power, but we can do stuff with this. We can do other things with it. We can reanimate it. So yeah, let's cut the Triplicate Spirits. Triplicate Spirits is really good, and if it's good enough at some point that we come back and revisit it, maybe we put it back in, you know? We could cut Dothy Marauder and just only keep the 2 and 1 mana evasive creatures. It's possible. This has been a great stream so far. I hope you guys are enjoying it as much as I am. This has been really fun. I like all the really nuanced decision making we have to do here around like what exactly it is we're trying to do. I like that quite a bit. 35 lands is good. This ramp number needs to come down. What are the rocks we cut? Anything that doesn't draw, right? So charcoal diamond, marble diamond could come out. Mindstone seems fine because we're not wildly pip intensive, right? So maybe I mean, Victim of Night is very good, but it's double pip, and it's not as good as Oubliette in permanently taking out somebody's commander. Like all of these are splashable. Victim of Night could come out. That's crazy. Victim of Night is like one of the best removal spells we have in the format. Is it better than Cut Short? The fact that Cut Short could totally be free is like, I like. Let's try it. We're all about the heresy here. We're all about slaughtering our sacred cows. We don't need to, adhere to this like play only the best cards thing. This card is very good, but we have better things for what we're doing, right? Host Intercessor is so sick here. We can like reanimate this. We can flicker it with Ephemerate. Stave Off is starting to look like a card that I like. It's very modal. This is a staple white spell to the nth degree. But in mid-range, protecting our stuff is not as important as just like, I don't know. It's just not as important, right? Especially because our commander here is not a removal magnet. It's a removal magnet for the people that care about it. And the people that care about it, because we're not leaning super hard into knights, is combo players. So once we, if we have like a little bit of interaction where we can slow down the combo player to where we get into that turn 5, turn 6, and we start making knights, it's going to be very hard for them to combo. They do have ways to fight the knights with like Echoing Truth and mainly Echoing Truth. But yeah. Fell Horseman, we talked about this before. I think this is going to have to go. Again, this is like another knight. It's just like this deck isn't about knights. It's just Orzhov good stuff that happens to have a knight generating source in the command zone that can kill creatures, right? So, and, maybe one question would be, do we want Fell Horseman over like Return Triumphant? Because Recommission has the added ability of being able to get back Cranial Plating. What else does it get back? Just Cranial Plating. I mean, in a weird instance, it could get back like an Infernal Idol that we sacrificed. I think we actually might want the Orzhov Locket over the Infernal Idol. I'm not sure. We're kind of all over the place here. Fell Horseman, I think, is going to go for now. Dothy Marauder is on the list. Like, all of these other ones are more efficient. Like 2 mana for a 2/2 versus 3 mana for a 3/1. The toughness doesn't matter. They're all going to die to a sweeper, or most of them. But what we care about is it's unblockable and it's cheap. So like Dothy Marauder could go. Dothy Marauder is very good though. And if I see the Night Trap more as you go, seeing the theme of Ariel more solo with her knights and less with knights cramping her style, thematic choices. Exactly. Yeah, and if you're seeing it. And it's like, look, Ariel makes knights. She can just crank them out over and over again. Is there any... I don't know. This one's a little lost in the sauce. Is there anything that untaps our creatures, like Midnight Guard, I guess, that would allow us to do this more often or more? Or you guys, while we're doing this, one of you go into Scryfall and see if there's any untapped stuff that is really synergistic. If it's not really synergistic, let's not think too hard about it. But yeah. I think Dothy Marauder has got to go. We got to cut some rocks here. So let's cut Marble Diamond and Charcoal Diamond. Ramp, I would like to have 10 rocks here, but I just don't know. Our quality of cards here is really high. Hey, Victoria, welcome. Glad to have you here. It's been fun chatting with you on YouTube in the comments. I appreciate you leaving those comments too. Everyone do as Victoria does. Make sure to leave comments for the algorithm. It does help. And of course, just for commentary, you can always ask me questions in there. I try to get back to people within a day. But sorry, I just got off work. No apologize at all. No apologies needed. All right, chat. We're going to slaughter another sacred cow. I know that y'all are going to hate this. I don't think this is good enough. You can at me in the chats if you're if this gives you a if this gives you upset stomach, but we're gonna cut that. It's just leaning into night things, and look, like we're not doing night things. We have 5 knights in the deck. Okay, 5 knights, and then we have this thing that makes infinite knights. So that's good enough. God, we have a lot of removal. We have 14 removal spells, 2 edicts, 3 sweepers. One of them is also under the removal slot. So, you know, we have quite a bit, and our commander removes things too. 40 creatures, just a lot. So this is one of those places where sometimes I'll find myself cutting Standard Bearer. I like the card, and it works really good with the reanimation. If somebody does kill it because it's a problem, then we can bring it back. But we have to think about what commanders and players care about this. And the players that care about it are like Satyr Enchanter doesn't like it, but Satyr Enchanter isn't killing it. They're going to put an aura on it. So we aren't going to be able to reanimate it. Who else doesn't like it? Blue players, Flicker players don't like this card. Particularly, well, sorry, not Flicker, pardon me. Freed from the Real doesn't like this. Tatiova Titlebore doesn't like this. But again, they just bounce it. They don't kill it. Village Bellringer is pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Nice spelling. Nice spelling, Ryan. Village Bellringer. Enters the battlefield. Untap all creatures you control. Did this get a reprint? It did. Wow, what a cool reprint. It's a 1/4. And it's got flash. So what does this look like? This could allow us to kill 2 things in 1 turn. Or, it's actually kind of nice with the removal, right? So we go like, well, we have to tap knights though. We have to tap knights to do the second effect. So this is more about making another knight in a turn. We can flicker it. Mobile Garrison's kind of interesting. Yeah, Mobile Garrison's really interesting. Because this is crewable by a knight. When it attacks, you untap another artifact or creature. 10th District Veteran. Yeah, this one has to attack. Don't love that. I think the Bellringer is probably the closest we get to, and the Garrison. We'll throw these in the sideboard. It's not really sideboard, it's more like considering, but you know, whatever. We'll clog up the sideboard for now. Got 9 cuts. Okay, so I can't help but think that it's got to come from removal. It's probably Stave Off. I know this card is very good. I really like it. But it's not tutorable. It's not reusable. It's not like doing as much as Ephemerate is. It's, you know, like I would rather this be Chomano's Blessing, but I don't think we need 2 of these because we have Heliod's Pilgrim and we have Coarse Skyfisher to reuse it. You know, yeah. I think this one's going to go to the sideboard. 8 cards to cut. And we still don't have like a ton of draw effects. Like Rowan's Grim Search. Yeah, we actually are kind of deep in the like not having enough. Like we need a couple of draw spells here. They would probably be of the normal sort because we don't really. Like, I'm not really excited about the idea of like spending mana to make a knight and then like sacking it to village rights. Or like, you know. I do like the idea of having some sack effects so that we can like sack a creature and then like reanimate it later. That's fine. But like, I feel like we just need Siphon Mind. Like some big chonky draw spells. Yeah, like Rowan's Grim Search. By the way, I want to give a shout out to North Dakota, who's in the Common Connoisseurs. I also had the pleasure of staying with him and Scarecrow and Ruffigan, 2 of the members of the Rules Committee in Las Vegas. And North Dakota pointed out that Rowan's Grim Search I'll call it. I think Rowan's Grim Search is essentially dig through time in black. And here's why. North Dakota pointed out that if it's bargained, you look at the top four, you may then put up to two of them back on top and the rest in your graveyard. Then you draw two, which means that if you need to, you can pitch all four and draw two more off the top, which is 3 mana, instant speed, dig 6. That's insane. If you're really looking for something and you are going to die if you can't, this card is going to find it. Has like statistically likely. It goes 6 cards deep. So in an opening hand of 7, if you want to see a card in your opening hand, you need to play 11 of it minimum. And I think it's more like if you want to see a card in the top 10 cards, you need 11 of it to see it, okay? Regularly. If you are looking for removal because you are going to die, Rowan's Grim Search looking 6 deep is actually like really likely to find you removal, especially with like all the other forms of removal, maybe a sweeper. So yeah, Grim Search is insane. Super, super strong. Victoria says Grim Search is the single most played card I have from WoW. Gas in every format. Yeah. I think this has applications in other formats too. Like Rowan's Grim Search could play in some pretty interesting contexts. Like Rowan's Grim Search might even play in Legacy. Like you have like a Mishra's Bauble, turn 1, Swamp, Dark Ritual, Mishra's Bauble, dig 6, find your Beseech the Mirror, dig 6, find your Urza Saga, dig 6, find your Karn, just off of like a Dark Ritual, right? And you have Mishra's Baubles, you have like all these like, Mox Opals, although usually they don't play Mox Opal, they play, what's it called? It's the black one that discards a land card. Mox. Can't remember it. Yeah, it's staple. And the other thing is like what we have to look at, the baseline for Rowan's Grim Search is 3 mana, instant speed, draw 2. And I was already playing Blood Pact and Succumb to Temptation in a lot of black decks. So snap, keep, and limited as long as you're in black, 100%. Okay, so we have 10 cards over, and we got to start making hard cuts. The ramp package. Mox Jet. No, not Mox Jet. It's Mox... No, it's the one that makes you discard a land card. They play it in reanimation decks. Or maybe you discard a card of the color. Okay, which here. Discard. MV equals 0, type artifact. Right? And we do only right here. Yeah, Mox Diamond. They don't play Mox Diamond, though. They play, you imprint. Yeah. Yeah, Chrome Mox. Yeah, this is the one. This is what they play in the, in like the Legacy Black Saga Beseech decks is the Chrome Mox, yeah. So, you have all these 0 mana artifacts. You can just sacrifice them. You tap it for mana, you sack it to Rowan's Grim Search, and you go digging. They're even playing Candy Trail. Candy Trail is actually a card that they're playing in Black Saga decks because it's 1 mana, so you can get it off of Saga when it goes away, and then it scries you to look deeper for the cards that you actually want. Because you're like making all these Urza Saga tokens, the constructs, you can win that way, or you're digging for Beseech. And then if you're holding firm with the Saga plan, and you just get Beseech, then you can sack the Chrome, sack the constructs as tokens to the bargain. So I watch a lot of Legacy. I like watching Legacy. I actually got to meet Bosch and Roll, Brian Koval, and what's his name, Phil Gallagher, who's at Thraben University, 2 of my favorite Legacy content creators in Vegas. It was super awesome. I even got to play. I got to play cPDH. Actually, I played Third Path Iconoclast, and Brian Koval and the other 3 players were all playing cEDH, and they were all very complimentary of my performance, even though I got bodied. So I play 4 Candy Trail in my Azorius Control standard deck. Yeah, that makes sense. It's like life gain, early scry, draws a card later on. It's very good. Okay, back to it. Do we cut standard bearer here? I mean, we are at the really hard cut parts. Maybe, I mean, the number of rocks we have is like not as many as I'd like to be super consistent. We could play maybe 8 would be the number. And then we cut Mindstone. Mindstone doesn't make colors. Ornithopter Paradise does dive sweepers. We are a 40 creature deck, which means that we're never going to be short of creatures to put cranial plating and all the glitters on. So I think the idea of actually this being something we can equip up is kind of maybe great. Cut standard bearer, make Lobert happy. I think that standard bearer is the cut here. Because Coalition Honor Guard is just so thick. It's a 2/4, you know? It's actually like a 2/4. Is this also a human? It is a human. Okay, cool. Yeah, let's do Standard Bearer. We've got Bloodseeker and Coalition Honor Guard. I'd love to have all 4 because these 2 are for Flicker and the other one and that one are for Freed from the Real and for Tidal Bore. Although this does not work with Tidal Bore. We need to cut removal. Journey to Nowhere is kind of not that great. Journey to Nowhere kills any creature, kills it, and it kills commanders, but we can't flicker it like we can Host Intercessor. And yeah, sideboard. And we have 11 instants and 11 artifacts, so that's really good for... Cranial Plating is not being maximized here, I will say that. But it is a very good card. Very good. Let's cut Ornithopter. I just don't think there's going to be a lot of instances where we don't have any creatures. Gotta send my lady here a message. Cool. Okay, what else do we have here? So 7 cuts left, and there's certain things. Oh, okay, here, we were talking about the anthems, right? We were talking about the anthems, and we liked that Relief Captain and Supply Runners are both cards we can reanimate. Oh, that's kind of interesting. I just realized, like, in a weird world, we could actually use Ariel to blow up our own stuff so that we can reanimate it to get the ETB back. So we could Ariel if we have some knights, and we could pop Supply Runners, and then we could go, you know, Late to Dinner or Dread Return to get another counter on our stuff. I think Now for Wrath and Now for Ruin is the one that probably goes here because it's not a creature, so we can't do anything with it. And the Tempt isn't that great, and the Vigilance, it's like our creatures already have Vigilance. So we're going to bring this to the sideboard. We got to get kind of lean. Like as a mid-range deck, we are getting stretched in a lot of different directions, right? We want lots of removal. We want things we can flicker. We want things we can reanimate. There's just like a lot of things, you know, kind of goes in a lot of directions. So, Breathless Night. Okay, here's a card. So we were talking about this one earlier, that we liked it for the flying. We like it for the lifelink. We like that it's a knight. Man, this is the knight thing. This is classic. Like, this is illustrating exactly what I talked about at the beginning of the stream, which is that if you go too heavy into knights, you have a worse deck. Your deck is made worse by having these knights in it that aren't generically good. The flying lifelink is good. Evasive lifelinker is great. It's coming down early. It's working with reanimation. It pairs well with a cranial plating or any one of these other effects, and it occasionally is going to get some benefit from reanimation stuff that's happening around it. But I think that this is just one of those cards that's going to be a little bit too cute for our purposes here. Oh, what did I just cut? I didn't cut the right one. Let's see, what was that? I removed Kingpin's Pet. Oh God, no, add that back. We don't want to cut that one. We want to cut Breathless Night sideboard. There we go. If we had a creature that we could flicker or reanimate that also brought back another creature that wasn't like Disciple of the Sun, it might be better. So a card like Gravedigger, for example, would be a good one. Hey, what's up? Oh, you okay? Cool, cool. Well, yes. You'll crash your stream. Okay. My partner just said she'd crash the stream one of these days. So, yeah, someday you'll get to meet the lovely meadow here. So Gravedigger, what we're really looking for is O return, O creature, O enter, O hand, right? Because we want just like, I want something generic that can bring back a creature over and over. Don't blame me for being on the extort train. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Robert, I think, we talked about it at the beginning of the stream when you were still streaming. Extort is one of the best keywords in the entire format right now, in my opinion. I think this is a pretty cold take. I don't think that there's a whole lot of reason why you shouldn't play them if you have access to them. The reason for it being, and of course, I'm probably preaching to the choir for you, Robert. You're a competent Magic player who understands this, but like they are mana sinks. They are unblockable damage. They are massive life gain. They're creatures that we can return from the graveyard over and over again, and they kind of have haste. You can play them out, cast another spell, and extort them, and they're like a pinger that had haste. Like, I just think they're busted. I think they're really, really strong. And especially like in Orzhov, where we can just get them back over and over again. It's disgusting. Victoria says, my fault for not being here at the start, but I can get the third-party recap of the game plan. Yeah, absolutely. So, oh God, Blood Fountain would be so good in this deck. Ugh, so good. Okay, so, Victoria, the game plan is Ariel is a 4-mana 4/4 Vigilant that poops out knights every turn. It also can destroy things with some weird restrictions. And it can do all of this while being vigilant. So one of the reasons I really like this is that Ariel is saying we increase our action economy. If for those of you that play D&D, that's a big part of that. We're increasing our action economy by being able to attack and block and either create creatures or destroy creatures. Now, the destruction of the creature is the biggest trap of this card because it asks you to tap untapped knights you control to do it. So when people see this card, they think, oh, we're knight typal. It is not a knight deck if you build it correctly. And I really do think that building this around knights is a huge mistake. Because the problem is in Pauper Commander, when we have a commander that says destroy a creature on it, it scares people. If we lean harder into that, it will cause Ariel to die a lot because it's going to be kind of like you have to build it like Mayhem Devil then, where you have to have like tons and tons of ramp. You have to have all these free ways to sacrifice things when Mayhem Devil comes into play. You have to build around that quite a bit. Ariel actually reads dumpster target player's combo creatures every single turn while attacking because it says it's based on power. So if we have one other knight in play with Ariel, we can kill 1 power creatures every single turn. Most combo creatures are 0, 1, some cases 2 power. Okay? Shipwreck Dowser is the only one that really sort of gets beyond that because it has prowess and there's ways to get it beyond that. So I think that the hypothesis is here in the game theory is that people are going to be perfectly happy to let Ariel sit and play if they're not doing a combo, because this card is stopping our opponents from comboing. All they can do is try to bounce Ariel at end step. We tap our knights, we try to destroy their untapper, and then they like Tameo safekeeping it, or they hexproof it, or they shroud it, right? And in that case, like we need the table's help, but or we have our own removal. But I think that we try to keep the knight synergy to a minimum, and we only do knights with Ariel because it's going to help us deal with the combo player, while the rest of our Orzhov deck straight dumpsters every other archetype we can play against. Against control, we don't even need to have cards. We just need to have Ariel, and we just make bodies. They're vigilant, which means we can attack and block against a gut player. They're 2/2s, which means they attack and block through TPI. this kills TPI over and over again if we have just one more night. You see what I'm saying? Like, we're saying we're going to win the creature game against aggro, against other mid-range, against control. And then we have a tool for destroying combo players. So there's the TLDR. There's the Spark Notes. Okay. What are we cutting? What are we cutting? What are we cutting? Chat, I need your help. Help me, Anakin. I'm too weak. How many instant speed removal spells do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then we have Ariel. That's plenty. I think we do want Edict. This deck is also not a bad Tortured Existence deck, I gotta say. Hate to be presenting cards that we could add, but we have like this nice low curve of creatures. If we go down here and look, our permanents at 2, if we look at them, we have 11 creatures at 2 mana. We have another 5 creatures at 3. So usually the way you look at Tortured Existence is if you have a nice spread of creatures that are cheap and creatures that are expensive, then you can swap them in your hand and you feel good about it. You have Tortured Existence in play, you top deck Changeling Outcast, which is a good card early on, but maybe it's not that good late. And you're like, you know what, I'd just rather have an Extort creature or a Mass Edict or Crypt Rats or Vicious Battle Rager or Goliath Paladin, right? And you can swap them out. The thing is that a lot of these 2 and 3 drops are actually like cards that we really like. And I don't think I ever see myself swapping a Basilicus creature or a Suture Priest for a bigger card. So Tortured Existence isn't good. Yeah, so Lobert, Wander in Death, we're not going to cut that card though. The reason, Lobert, that this card, I'm so bullish on it, is because it just draws a card. I wouldn't play this card if it was just dedicated graveyard recursion. The fact that it can just cycle away in the early turns eliminates its badness, right? If this was just 3 mana, get 2 cards back, or, yeah, so you see what I'm saying. Relief Captain. So here's a question. Yeah, maybe we just want supply runners. Is Relief Captain better than supply runners? It's 1 less mana. It puts counters on 3 creatures. It has 1 more power. It's 4 mana, and it's also a knight. At 4 mana, the reason that that's good is because we have Dimir Houseguard. So that if like, say the control player's tapped out, and we have a chance to, we can Dimir Houseguard, tutor up Relief Captain, play it, and then make all of our 2/2s 1 bigger so that they don't die to the 2 mana sweepers. Yeah. Sounds like you really want to play a 105 card deck. You're not wrong, but is there, I mean, that's always the case. These live streams, you know, we choose commanders, generally speaking, that we think have a lot of potential, and they generally have like 120 good cards. So that's a good sign. Whenever you're dealing with a deck that has a lot of good cards for it, you're probably onto something. So maybe we do cut supply runners then. What do you guys think? Is it supply runners or Relief Captain? Are we ever going to have more than 3 other creatures in play? Maybe. It is a knight. I mean, there is that too. I mean, supply runners is 1 more mana. It's putting them on all of our creatures. So there's potential that supply runner could get us more value. I think it's Relief Captain that we keep. Is there a support 2? Is there a support 2 creature at 3 mana? There isn't. Okay. What about O counters? O +1 type creature O2? No, nothing. Okay. There's nothing that's like 3 mana that supports 2. Because if we did have a 3 mana one, then I would choose that because Recommission, Return Triumphant, and Unearth would work with it. But I think we're going to cut supply runners. I think Relief Captain being an additional power, a knight, 4 mana for Dimir Houseguard, and the support 3 isn't that much worse. Because I think like we do have, I mean, it'll be worse when we have Soul of Migration and Battle Screech. That is also, see again, we're tempted by the Knight synergy. Is the doggo better? It is one of the best dogs ever printed. That's for damn sure. Doggo. We didn't put any of these ones in, these 4 mana Knight things. Is it the Knight or the dog? We'll stick with the Knight for now. It's also pretty cool art. What the hell is this thing riding? What is this? It has reins coming out of the top of its head. It's kind of concerning. Like no harness there. It's weird. Maybe it's its ears. Okay, we need to cut 4 more cards. And the cuts are extraordinarily difficult at this point. We could cut Bloodseeker. I love Bloodseeker and Suture Priest, but Suture Priest is clearly the better card. Yeah, let's try that. Let's try that. Because we just need to make cuts, and then we need to see how it plays, basically. This reanimation stuff here, we could cut Return Triumphant. And let me make an argument for that. Unearth is 1 mana, and you can pay 2 to just draw a card, okay? That's really what makes it so playable, paired with all of our good extort creatures here. Recommission is 2 mana, but it brings back an artifact or a creature, and it immediately puts a counter on it. Now, the relevance of that is that with Syndic of Tithes, with Basilica Screecher, with with a Kingpin's Pet, this all puts it up to 3 toughness or more, which is outside of sweeper range for our sweepers and our opponents. Recommission also can get back Cranial Plating, which is huge. Return Triumphant only gets creatures back, and it only gives them counters if they attack. And some of these creatures are not very good attackers. It's fine with Kingpin's Pet and Basilica's Creature because we attack with these all the time. But Syndic of Tithes doesn't attack. Tithe Drinker doesn't attack that great. Basilica Guards can't attack at all. But Basilica Guards, the counter doesn't matter as much because it's not, it's already a 1/4. So I think we're going to cut Return Triumphant. I like this card a lot. I think it's great in these decks, but I think we can cut it. We're keeping just the best reanimation. Unearth, Recommission, Dread Return, Late to Dinner, Disciple of the Sun to Flicker to get back a lot of things, or just to play it to get back one of these. Also gets back an Edict. So I think that's good. We have 2 more cuts, and we have kind of all of our bases covered right now. It could be removal, maybe like 12. I don't know. Feels kind of weird. Ramp. What are the last 2 cuts, chat? What are the last 2 cuts? Because we are into only the finest of common cardboard here. I really want to try out Core Skyfisher. I know this is a card that some of you are probably like, why is it here? I really think this is going to be a good card, and I think it needs to be tried in these mid-range decks. So I'm open to being wrong on this one, but it just seems like there's so many uses for it, like switching up an Impetus, a Spectral Grasp, all that glitters, pulling up a Demon's Disciple or a Chain Devil, a Relief Captain, Benevolent Blessing to swap targets, or to pull it back up so we can use it for protection or interaction. Yeah. There's one other thing I want to mention too. Instead of Westfold Rider, we could actually play like an ETB. Yeah. An ETB Naturalize or an ETB Disenchant. So, and then we would replace Westfold Rider. Okay. And then type creature. Type enter. Or enter. So Rambunctious Mutt is commonly the one I end up playing here because you can flicker Rambunctious Mutt. We only have 1 flicker in the deck. We do have reanimation, which could bring it back, but we don't have like a ton of ways to put things in the graveyard, and this isn't really a target for removal. It's a big body though. This is also a very good boy, right? He's a very good doggo. 5 mana for a 3/4 that blows up an artifact or enchantment, and we could mix it up. I don't hate it. It's a little clunky, but It's also just a great threat. It's kind of like Pondering Mage, right? It's like Ponder with a 3/4 on it. It's pretty good. Resisting the urge to add Lobert, trying to be my more rational version. Resisting the urge to, what does he say? I can't see it because of the, let's see. Resisting the urge to yell out more cards to add. Yes, I appreciate the discipline. Thank you. There we go. Yeah, I mean, if you have other cards, speak now or forever hold your peace. Oh, there we go. Okay. Let's add Rambunctious Mutt. Well, so we actually, no, this can't be better because look, we have all these reanimation. We have one flicker. We have only one flicker. So we need to build around the ones that sack themselves. There's other cards that sack, right? That do things. Right? Yeah, we could cut a mana rock. There are some, what about the replicas? They're 3 mana, aren't they? They're a body, they can sacrifice, they blow up artifacts and enchantments. We have Bodyguard. Oh, we don't have Bodyguard in here. This is so good. Damn. Blind Zealot's also pretty good. This one's the Intimidate, that when you hit people, you can deal them damage and then sacrifice it to blow up a creature. And it's like Intimidate, so it's almost unblockable. And we can unearth it. That's actually really good. Let's add this real quick here. Augural Vec cut because it's 1 power is a bad rate and it can't block. Yeah, that's possible. I really want the core. I want there to be a core of efficient cards that are unblockable, was the idea of Lobert, to maximize our cranial plating and all that glitters. And Augural Vec is like one of the better shadow creatures for that reason because it's 3 toughness, so it doesn't die to sweepers. But I could see it being the argument. It also has the other mode of just sacrificing to gain 4 life in a real pinch. But I could see that. I could see your rationale there. Cutting Star Compass, yeah, that could be good too. Yeah, and by the way, Lobert, this is like where we're getting into that territory of like the creatures that can sack for free to destroy things. And destroying enchantments is much more important than destroying artifacts. So maybe that's some of the focus that we want to have here too. Sirith Ungol Patrol is not awful here either. But it's kind of, lost in the sauce a little bit. Let's put that there. What we're looking for here is things that disenchant, right? Sack creature, sack. Let's see. Felidar Cub. I'd love it to have flying. So like Shinewend actually would be a good one. Shinewend would be good. Yeah, I like Shinewend. Shinewend works with the Forge too, with the initiative. You forge it up and then it becomes a 3/3 flyer and you can remove counters one at a time. Gingerbrute is also unblockable. I mean, maybe this is like supposed to be in here too because of that. It gains life, it's haste, it's unblockable. We'll add this to the sideboard. And we have to keep in mind too that we don't always need to finish these things completely during these live streams to have made really good progress. Gingerbrute's great. Yeah, love this card. Destroy target aura. That's tap. We have this one here, Kami of Ancient Law. Destroy target enchantment. Destroy target enchantment. Those are great. Oh, this is kind of cool. God, that's expensive though. 5 mana. It's not that good. You can do it 3 times though. You can do this 3 times. It's really interesting. Sideboard. Like, I would probably play this over Rambunctious Mutt in this deck for that reason. Dude, there are the Lawbringers. Lawbringer and Lightbringer being cards that we can, like, unearth. It's kind of interesting. I don't think it's what we're going to do here, but that is an interesting card. Have you considered playing these, Lawbert, in your Thraben Watcher deck? Because both of these have Vigilance in your deck. They're like 3 mana, 3/3 Vigilance that act as removal on a creature. It's pretty cool. Okay, destroy target attacking creature. Target creature gains this. The Knights package is pretty cool. Hey, Derpy, what's up? Good to see you, Panda. Moriok Replica. This is one of the cards I was looking at here. NF says, I see the live stream as like a first draft. Cool to see it before it gets polished up. Yeah, and I think there's an element of like, sometimes when these go long, there's like an element of pride involved. You know, I want to make sure I'm putting something out here that's really good, that people are like happy with. But like, you know, there's an element of perfectionism. We don't need these to be perfect. They don't need to be completely tuned up because they're always going to see changes later on. So it's always a first stab, right? It's a first stab at a good idea. Robert says, I have not. The 3 mana slot is really choked, but I'll have to consider it. It is. There's a lot of good cards in white at 3 mana. So totally understand you not having it. Nim replica is interesting. It's only -1/-1. So that's actually kind of dog doo-doo. It is very bad. Priest of the Haunted Edge is really bad, unfortunately. I wish it weren't. I like Cavalry Drill Master. Yeah, so the thing is, Derpy, and we talked about this earlier, I'll only go over it briefly because we've explained this just a few times and we're going to be wrapping up soon, is that this is not a Knights deck. And if you build this as a Knights deck, I think you're going to be disappointed with the performance because you're going to end up playing a lot of pretty mid cards to have Knights in the deck when there are better options for what we are capable of doing. The potential of the deck is like way higher than being a typal deck. And when we're not a typal deck around Knights, then our removal is going to be more useful more often because our commander won't die all the time. If we go into Knights and we use Ariel as a machine gun to kill things over and over again, people are going to stop our Ariel from doing anything or try to. And I don't think that's a good plan. I think we want to just say we've got good removal. We can kill combo creatures. That's really it. We kill combo creatures with Ariel. And that's we do that by just making tokens. So, okay. We're looking for destroy target enchantment type stuff. Derpy says, oh, I was thinking of an aggressive 2-drop with tokens. Cavalry Drill Master. Yeah, that's the 2/1 for 2 that gives a +2/+0 and first strike, I want to say. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe I misunderstood what you're saying. As a person, as a new person to the format, I also learn about cards you love. As a new, oh my God, the Lixdexia is super real right now. NF says, as a new person to the format, I also learn about cards you love and are great. Always happy to add perspective from a demographic of new to Magic. Yeah, that's great. I love that, and we really want to be, welcoming to people who are newer to the game, because this is one of the best formats, really, for people who are newer to the game. It's a lot of nuts and bolts Magic, fundamentals, things like that. So yeah, I'm glad you're getting a lot out of it. Soul Reaper of Mogus and Spark Reaper are both kind of interesting here, particularly Spark Reaper, because it is a card that we can unearth, we can reanimate it, it draws cards repeatedly, and yeah, it's kind of cool. Just for consideration later on. Tormod's Crypt Keeper is really interesting because we can actually reanimate the source of graveyard hate over and over again. That's like quite good, especially because it's vigilance, it can attack and do this. So we'll put that in there too. But we are getting to the end of these. There are no like 3-drop creatures that, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Let's go look at, is there cards like Shinewind? So like O, remove, O, counter, O, enchantment type creature. So we're just going to get Shinewind, yeah. And it's 2 mana to remove the counter. But it's actually pretty cool. Actually, with Recommission, we get this back and it comes in with another counter. That's pretty cool. I actually like this card. Okay, so what we're going to do from here is we have a really, really good start on Ariel. And we have a commander that I think has a lot of promise and good game theory. This is a good game theory deck. And I focus on that a lot because I think a lot of what people are building right now is stuff that has high raw power level without actually thinking about the social game. I had a conversation with Gavin Dugan from the EDH Rules Committee when I was in Vegas with a lot of the Rules Committee some of the Rules Committee from Pauper Commander, Clay, Ruffigan, Scarecrow. And one of the things that he said that really stuck with me was that a lot of people discount how much of a social game this is. And you have to keep that in mind. You really do need to play the social game if you want to maximize your win rate. And part of the social game is managing the perception of your commander by the way you build your deck. So if you build your deck to make Ariel a machine gun that kills anything in play all the time, just see how much you're able to do it. I just don't think you'll be able to do it very much. If you build Ariel to hold back and hold down the player, the player that is doing infinite combo stuff so that they can't do it, the table is going to be more, they're going to be happier with what you're doing, except for that player. So you'll get a lot of bonus points. NF says, let's see, trying to get this here. That's such a good point. Staying off the radar is huge. Totally. Yeah. Like building your deck so that it's powerful, has a good game plan, but isn't, and it's not about playing bad cards. Like you look at this deck, this is full of top-notch white-black cards, right? We want all of this stuff. It's all good. Okay. It's not about playing bad cards. It's not playing a bad deck. It's not about possuming. It's about building your deck for the social game so that you don't become enemy number one. If you want to try and, big dick energy and try and roll in there and 3v1 the table, you're just going to lose more games than you win than if you had just played a deck that was good at the social game. Now, combo decks are kind of in that category. Like combo decks aren't bad in the format. They're doing quite well from a metadata standpoint, based on the perception that you have to play combo to be good in tournaments, right? To be good in tournaments. But I think a lot of that has to do with threat assessment. A lot of that has to do with people not being familiar with how these combos work, giving them too much slack and not pressuring the player that literally when they do their thing, all of your game decisions are over. You scoop up your cards, there's nothing more to do. Mid-range and control and aggro, if they do their thing, they don't automatically win. That's just not how that works. So failed target priority is a lot of what's causing that win rate to be so high in decks that have game theory that says, I end the game if I do my thing, right? So it's just, and this is all subjective. Like, there's a lot of people that disagree with me on this, but I really do think that from a game theory standpoint, which I've studied a lot, not just in playing games, but academically, game theory of trying to play a deck that 3v1s the table right from the get-go is not maximizing your odds of winning. So, but we have a good game theory deck. We have a lot of great choices. We have a lot of cards that we're having to cut that we're unhappy to cut. That is a really good place to be. We know we're onto something. We have a base of creatures that are evasive, that work with our cranial plating and our all that glitters, both of which are very redundant. We can get them back in several ways. We can reuse them in several ways. We have edicts, which we can reuse over and over again, giving us a lot of power to destroy, basically fight things that are very creature, like commander-centric, where they're only their commander, right? Maybe not a lot of creatures. We have ways to buff up our board in ways that protect us from sweepers. We have an engine that doesn't really rely on cards. It just says you need to have mana. We have reusable disenchants and ways to deal with hard to deal with permanents. We have some good cards that we can reanimate along with other initiative things. We have a very strong initiative and monarch package. We have a good tutor package with Heliod's Pilgrim and Dimir Houseguard. We have some stacks pieces with Citra Priest and with Coalition Honor Guard, which are both great at keeping the combo players down. We have generically good sweepers that are very good with our deck and the initiative and the monarch. We have a protection suite that is respecting the fact that we will eventually get some hate, but isn't so overloaded that we're like holding all these like dead protection spells in hand. So we can remain very proactive. We have a decent amount of ramp so that we're not going to be super crimped on mana. And we have a lot of evasive creatures and a very reasonable base of removal spells, many of which are cheap or free and kill the things we care about. We have a ton of ways to symmetrically drain the table to our advantage with all of the extort creatures, which I think are one of the best things we can play in the format right now. And even though we don't have a lot of cards that are like dedicated Sign and Blood, Night's Whisper type stuff, we actually do have quite a bit of draw. And a lot of it is built-in value that accumulates over the course of the game. So I think I'm pretty happy with calling it here. We have a couple of cards we're going to have to figure out, like Blind Zealot, Shine Wind, maybe Benevolent Bodyguard, because this is just a really strong, generically good white card that's like on board. And we'll figure out how we can fit those all in. But we're basically like 2 cards off right now, just a few. It's 105, but you know, we're doing well. We've also got a very affordable deck. I mean, I think if we went to the cheapest version of this deck, we would be sitting at sub $50, which is exactly what I'm looking for. It's one of the really big selling points of this format is exactly that, is being able to bring the price of competitive down to something that you could sell to a friend of yours who's never played Magic, instead of being like, it's going to be like $700 to build your deck. We've got a $50 deck. Edmund Nelson, welcome to the chat. Good to see you, bud. Says, in tournaments, you have to win in time. So combo gets better and control gets worse. And the more combo players at the table, the better combo is. Absolutely. No, that's a really insightful point about the combo getting better when other combo players are there. I would the time thing has been overblown. I will push back on that a little bit. You have plenty of time in a tournament to win a game. And I would argue too that currently, like in the last tournament, not the last tournament, but the tournament before in Detroit, they had 80-minute timers, which led to a lot of draws in the tournament, which kind of poisoned the data a little bit because it was hard to win in 80 minutes, because it's hard to win a cPDH game in general consistently in 80 minutes. But 90 minutes, I would argue, isn't really actually a reasonable time allotment for cPDH either, because cEDH is a much faster format where people are winning on turns 1 through 3, and they get 90 minutes. Our games end on average on turn 9, right? So we should have 100-minute games, okay? That's, I think, the future of cPDH and tournament Magic is 100 minutes for the round. And personally for me, I just don't have trouble winning games with control. There's a point in time where you have a pestilence in play, you've got more life than everybody else, and you're just going to win the game. They can see the writing on the wall, right? You're going to win that way. Or in this deck where you start snowballing with lots and lots of tokens at the end of the game, you've got more resource advantage, right? So I think that the time thing has been overblown a little bit to say control can't win in tournaments. It's not good for tournaments. Play better. Know your threat assessment well. Don't tank on decisions super hard when you're playing control. Like, know the things. Control is harder to play because you have to know what everybody else is doing, but that doesn't mean that it's not viable for tournament. And I know you're not saying that it's not viable for tournament, but that is the claim that a lot of people make, is that it's not viable for tournament play. Because it's not putting up results right now, mainly because less people play control because it's hard. But the point about combo players wanting to be in... I like to say combo players like to fly in flocks. And it's in the interest of combo players to advocate for more people to play combo, because when they do, they end up less as the one combo player facing down aggro, mid-range, and control. When you're one combo player, your odds of winning go down a lot. They go down a lot. When there are more than one, your odds of winning go up dramatically. And so they have an interest, just like me as a Bonders Ornament player. I want other people to play Bonders Ornament because they're going to draw cards for me. It's a win-win. So the narrative around combo being necessary to win in tournaments is largely, it's self-serving for one thing, and they should do that. They should advocate for themselves, right? But it's something to pay attention to. NF says, amazing stream tonight, learned a lot. It's not a night deck. Grim Search is broken. Casual deck tech could be reality soon. And of course, Ryan likes to cause cognitive dissonance to his opponents. NF, that was a very thorough and well put synopsis. We're gonna put that one as the pinned comment for the night. Looks like 50-50 on music too, so that's good to know. We'll pin that one right there. But yeah, great synopsis. You definitely you're ingesting the material with a lot of accuracy. Derpy says, "Is there a reason not to backdoor a combo in a deck like this?" The reason we don't backdoor combos in mid-range is because those combo cards are usually quite bad on their own, and I am allergic to playing cards that need another card for them to be good. And you should be too. I don't often speak prescriptively like this because I think it's important for everybody to find their own way when they're playing and discover what works and what doesn't for you. But I'm going to recommend that you don't put combos in mid-range and control decks, because what you just want is to draw more cards and out-resource your advantage. Like, you don't see blue-white control players in other formats slotting in combos into their deck set often, because it leads to having like cards that don't do shit sitting in your hand for a long time and then dying with combo cards in hand when they could have been interaction, they could have been card advantage, they could have been ramp, they could have been anything else. And I really don't like it. And the other thing is that you bring aggro onto yourself. Like, subtly speaking, if there are two people and it's unclear what the target priority is because of the nature of the board state, maybe it's kind of like iffy. If you have the combo, I'm probably coming after you first. So that's the one that there's a lot of reasons to not do it. And also, like, when you're in a mid-range deck, like, your combo gets worse the less redundancy you have for it. So you're playing like a bad combo, especially in this deck. There's no good combo for these colors, right? You're playing like a combo that is made worse by the fact that you're trying to do mid-range. That's like inconsistent, you know? Just cut those cards and play good cards. Grind out the game, win through combat damage or sweepers or whatever you want to do. But that's my take on that. Is I don't like combos just slotted in casually into decks. It really dilutes them and makes them worse in a lot of cases. Not always, but most of them. Lobert says, you're so right. What about combo players wanting others to play combo? Totally, yeah. It was like early stage of the format when I was playing, and I was convincing people to play Bonder's Ornament, and it was like, well, if I'm the only person playing Bonder's Ornament, I just get to draw cards for free. If other people start playing Bonder's Ornament, occasionally I'll draw them cards, and occasionally they'll draw me cards, and that's good for me. Combo is the same way. They just want other combo players to draw aggro from them. They don't want to be the only person who is trying to kill the table all at once as fast as possible. Which, I'm sorry, it's just not good game theory. Like, I just, in cEDH, everybody has to go fast. You are obliged to go fast and turbo because the combos are 2 cards. They're tutorable with all these different ways. In this card, it's 4 card combos. There's no tutors that are really efficient. They're all 3 mana tutors or 2 mana tutors. And the table's interaction is better than your threats. We have good counterspells and great removal, good edicts and good sweepers. We have all this disruption, and the threats are worse. So I don't really like playing combo for that reason. Breaking Bob, we got Croxagore, wild Croxagore in the chat. Good morning together. Welcome. I will say to you, Guten Tag, my friend. Wake up and see Ryan is live. Always a good start to the day. Well, I'm really glad you're here, buddy, and it's always good to have you in chat. Derpy Panda, 9 live Solemnity in U-White control is good. Yeah, that's true. And in Legacy, you know, you get like the Days Undoing Narset combos, which are good as well. But like, if you watch people play those, there's a lot of times where they'll draw Days Undoing with no Narset, and it feels bad. It feels really bad. So I don't even think those are really good. Like most people have moved off of Narset Days Undoing for that reason. And it's smart. You just don't want bad cards in your deck when you're playing control. Victoria says, don't have the tutors in the formats that allow you to find the second half reliably. Exactly. Like, not only do you have to find a second, third, and fourth half, right? Like a fourth quarter, you have to find all these cards, but the tutors are bad to do it. They're very selective. That's, you know, it's not to say you shouldn't play combo. There are good combo decks out there like that are very resilient. The combo decks I like are ones that defend themselves well. Abdel, phenomenal. Tatiova, if people built it differently, phenomenal. Like, just build creatures instead of ramp, right? Play Wood Elves, play Ondu Giant, play all this stuff, right? To like have blockers and draw cards and ramp. Other one would be Gretchen. And Gretchen makes sense because its combo pieces are generically good. Its combo pieces lead it to drawing more cards and to ramping harder and to comboing faster. So it's super, super resilient. So yeah, there's a lot of good combo decks out there. Even Sludge Strider, I know this one isn't played. People, you know, aren't putting up wins with the deck or anything. It's just nobody's playing it. But it's like, it's a combo deck that has like tons of different combos, lots of like redundant blockers, and it gains life every time you do anything, which is awesome. You know, Quasar could do the same thing, gaining life every time you're, you know, drawing cards is great. It's, you know, I like resilience in my combo decks. That's what I want to see. I want blockers. I want life gain. Croxagore says, what commander did you build today? Today, we built Ariel, Knight of Windgrace, Orzhov Midrange. He says, I see 5 cards to cut, correct? Potential Already potential cuts that we can discuss. Well, Croxagore, I'm actually about to sign off here, my friend. So unfortunately, we'll just have to direct you back to the recording because we're really close to finishing and getting to 100 cards. But the last cuts are really, really hard, which is a good sign. We're on something really powerful here. So we are going to cut things off here for now. But with that in mind, I want to take a moment to thank all of the people who have contributed financially to what we're doing here at the Common Connoisseurs, or what I'm doing here, because I guess this is my boat now. Clay's moving on to do amazing new stuff with the Rules Committee, focusing more on his role there, and we're keeping on cracking here on the Common Connoisseurs, diving us deeper into the meta. Learning more about the different available options, expanding our awareness of all the different things you can do. And so for those of you interested in supporting the channel, you can join the 20 other patrons that we have at all sorts of different levels. We have a $2, $5, $10, $20, and $50 level for Patreon. And all you need to do to get access to the supporter section of the Discord is $2 a month, $24 a year. And you get a ton of value. You get to see maybe even a months in advance in Let's Builds. You get to participate in those conversations well ahead of time with me and other great patrons in the channel. You get to see all the updates before anybody else to all the decks that I build and play actively, which is a lot of decks. I have well over 100. It was like 100. It's well over 100 cPDH decks that I've got in my compendium, and you'll see all the updates I make to those, which I post and I tag everybody in so you can see those. But there's a ton of other value you can get. So check out the patreon.com/common connoisseurs if you too are interested in supporting the channel. There are other ways to support the channel too, and some of them are really easy and free for you to do. The main one is liking and subscribing to the channel. If you aren't subscribed already, make sure to do so that you can get notifications when we have videos that go up so you don't miss anything, as well as edited content. And for the occasional time where I'm able to play some games on a free day and we don't have it scheduled, that's a great way to do it. You can comment in the videos to increase the odds that your friends and other people will see it in the recommended pane by basically feeding the algorithm. Even if you go in and say algorithm, right? That all helps. Those are all free ways to do it. Like, comment, subscribe. But for those of you who want to take it a step further, we have Max, Kelp, Paul, Neil, Alex, Jared, Dax, the PDH pod. Let's see, we got to go to the active here. The PDH pod, Eric, Adgan, Zach, Scooby, Chris, Mizu, William, Paul, Corey, Derek, Ian, and Noyark. All of these people have put their money where their mouth is, and they're all supporting the content by contributing financially, whatever they're able to the channel. It's a great way to support it. So take a look at that. I'll leave actually the link is in the description below, so you can check that out there. And thank you to all those people for kindly contributing to the success of the channel. We have, okay, yeah, looks like Breaking Bob saying, okay, sure. Yep. And let me know if you have any questions about that, Bob. I'd be happy to talk with you more about the deck. Cool. Well, with that, it's been wonderful hanging out with you all today. This is a bit of a long stream, so thank you for your patience in that, but I'm excited about what we've built here. And I think this is a real contender for Orzhov and a great way to bust open your local meta, beat the nasty combo players. I love you guys too. But of course, a great way to grind in every way, shape, and form. So I hope you all enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you want to support the content, check out the Patreon. And with that, Connoisseurs of Fine Common Cardboard, we'll catch you on the battlefield. Peace out.